Duncan, Mr. Getty's boy lent it to you.
Are you joining me, Pop?
Okay, let's go. How you doing?
Fine. Can we go home?
No. Stay calm. Where would you like to go riding, aside from home?
I don't know. But maybe that stream?
Good idea. Now, you know all this. Get him going. Come on. You know. The horse can feel your fear. Just act confident, okay?
Uh-huh. Confident. Yep.
Don't pull on the reins. You'll yank his bit out. Use your legs. There you are. Now let's go. Jack, a little kick and a... See, you can do it. How about you speed up a mite?
Okay. Whoa! You know, this ain't so bad, sir.
Good. Amazing what the right horse and a little confidence can do.
Easy. How do I look?
Better than before. Keep at it. Even faster, come on.
Faster? Yeah. I'm getting there.
I should hope so. Okay, let's go across to the stream.
Yes, sir. Easy.
Here we are.
Yep,
We should get back. You think you're ready for a little race?
I guess.
All right. We go back to the path and up to the ranch.
Okay, on my go. Go! I got the hang of this, sir. This horse can go! Yee-haw! It feels like I'm flying! Are you still back there?
Last straight. Come on.
Yeah! I beat you! I beat you!
Well ridden, son.
I beat you.
Like I said, your riding, it's gotten so much better.
Thanks.
Hey,
That's so cute. Let him meet you guys.
You too.
Task force that you led, and it included calling Capitol Police understaffed, insufficiently equipped, inadequately trained, recommended hiring more police officers, 854 more, found other things saying that made their decision making too slow, and calling for retractable fencing, etc. But I wonder, how do you define
Abigail, you still here?
to be a psychological barrier to Capitol Police acting, meaning that this was the sitting president's supporters, and so
I'm headed to work today myself, Jack. So you stay out of trouble.
Yeah, Joy, we looked very strong at the mission we've got from the House, Charlotte, from the Speaker, to look at things to prevent this from happening again. That was the focus of our investigation and analysis, and we spent 6 weeks doing that. Much of the answer to the question you just posed is a good one and a solid one that the Department of Justice and the FBI is spending enormous resources, and they're picking folks up every day because by their own action they self-admitted that they were there. But again, our action was, let's harden the Capitol. Let's get the police what they need. And right now we're waiting on the Commerce Act to approve the supplemental to pay for those things, to support the police officers as well as to harden the Capitol.
So it's possible, obviously, Congress would just pass the bill to increase the number of officers, increase their budget. There is the Capitol Police Union warning of people leaving the Capitol Police Force after what happened and worried about attrition. But I wonder about this idea of access to the Capitol. There's been a lot of criticism, mostly from Republicans, from Democrats. This is a public space. It's sort of a sacred public space. People enjoy taking their families to. The Capitol is generally an open place to the public, but it's obvious that that person who wrecked a car, it's 2 officers killing one and the other, made it obvious it cannot be that open. How open in your view should it be going forward?
I guess I don't believe a word.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's his dilemma. Every member of Congress, House, Senate,
take a man at his word.
we
Also
talked to,
believe this is a free
when
country.
we gave them our recommendations, they all left with one message.
So I guess it don't
General,
much matter what
this
you
is the people's house. They want that house open to the public. Many of them reminisce about days coming there in high school buses on their senior trip and walking around the Capitol. And there's no greater feeling to those members of Congress than to see their constituents' children come see them and
plenty more to do.
Draw by the idea of coming to the Capitol. On the other hand, the Capitol is a target. It was a target in 1814 when the British came and burned it. The British didn't take Washington during that attack. They wanted to burn the Capitol.
Now, lift up the other side. You gotta line up, see? Now the next rail. You're doing all right. Okay. Fine. That looks okay. Go to the next post and pound that in. I hope you've grasped the basics. I got other matters to attend to, but there's more than a day's work here for you.
All right. So long.
I'll be counting sections when you're done.
Okay.
Over here. Put that fence down and get over here, boy. Quick as you can. Milton, get over here.
Coming.
Come on. us a hand. Know much about bulls, Milton?
Just the basics. Don't make 'em mad.
Angus, get... This is Jim Milton.
Mr. Milton?
Angus is your boss's son.
Nice to meet you. Let's try and move this great hunk of chuck.
Come on! Move! Shit!
I'll get him.
Just keep on him, Milton, and try and calm him down.
Bad boy. Not the fence! Get out of the way!
We got a stray on the ranch.
Shoot! Shoot! Gotcha! Ease up. How am I gonna calm this thing down? You don't look like you're gonna wind down. But I'll try. It ain't so bad. Nice and easy now, boy. Relax, my friend. There, there. There, there. Whoa there. Whoa there. Easy, easy. All better? Okay. Now come on, you hunk of chuck. You need to calm down. Stubborn, ain't you? Let's go. Got him, Mr. Dickens.
Oh, good.
How you doing, son?
A bit sore, but I'll be okay. Thank you, Mr. Milton.
My pleasure. And you, mister?
Fine. He just got my head.
Good. There he is.
See you later, Jim Milton. We'll make a rancher of you yet.
Mr. Geddes don't like trespassers.
Was that so?
Yes.
Oh, you hear that? He don't like trespassers.
That's what I said.
Well, does he like dead bodies on his property?
No, now, come on, mister.
Tell your friend, Mr. Geddes, he's gonna sell this place. Only thing he needs to decide is what he loses before he sells.
Oh, I'm real frightened of you.
Whoa!
You want to watch your mouth, boy. You will be the first one we kill.
Leave him alone.
Oh, careful, boys. Careful. Look at this tough guy.
Get out of here.
Oh, fancy pants Geddes paying you to be tough for him, huh?
No, he's paying me to keep the place clean.
Oh.
Said he had some problems with vermin.
Oh, listen to this. Real funny.
Oh! Come on, get him now!
Get him.
Oh, kick his head in, boss!
I couldn't stop him, Jim.
When was the last time you had a bath?
Oh, heck. Yeah.
Goddamn brains out! Oh, he's licking you, boss.
Geddes spends on women, saves on hands. It's like that, huh?
You need help?
That boy can punch.
Jim Milton, get off that man! Get off him!
He hit me first.
Oh, you can fight, boy. I'll give you that. Well, how's your wife in the brawl?
Leave my wife alone.
Oh, she's real pretty.
Get out of here.
Oh, quite a temper you got. Imagine you're frustrated with your lot in life, married to a shit-shoveling farmhand. What'd you do wrong to end up here?
Leave my wife alone.
Welcome to Big Valley, Jim Milton. Pleasure to meet you both. We'll see you again. And you, boy, tell Mr. Geddes we called. We'll be back.
Thank you, Mr. Milton. Thank you.
Don't worry about it.
Stop acting like a goddamn storybook hero, will ya?
What choice did I have?
Plenty, you moron. Plenty.
We all get caught eventually, John. I guess the trick is to decide by who.
Now, dear, I won't hear any more of it.
You won't hear any of it.
Not in front of the men.
You toad.
All right, smile, smile. Do not embarrass me.
How you getting on?
Surviving. I think.
Here. I'll get you some coffee.
Only thing I know how to do is... Well, you know, undertakers like me. Cattle, not so much.
That ain't true.
Ain't no rancher. Rustled horses, not raised them. Stole cattle, not birthed them.
I was reading the newspaper. I was reading about a old ranch, Beecher's Hope, down by Blackwater.
Was you?
Well, Jack read it to me, but I thought maybe we could raise some money. Bank could lend us the rest. We could be happy, John.
Bank loans? I got a goddamn price on my head, woman.
I know all about that. Every time we about to get somewhere, make something, you go and show the entire world that you ain't Jimmy Milton. Every place we've been has been the same. We start doing okay, and then boom. You act like the big man with the gun. Tired, John, and I guess I was dreaming a little. At least give me that.
Just feels hopeless.
I'm doing better.
Milton! Milton, ma'am. Mr. Geddes needs you to head over to Strawberry in the wagon and collect some mail for him at the post office.
Sure. I'll take the boy with me. He's getting soft. Lancelot.
Come on. Jim, if you're heading that way, can you pick up a parcel for me? A dress I ordered. I think it's in your name?
My name.
I think so. One's in your name, and the other one's in mine. Only one should have come in by now.
How much shopping you done?
Oh, yes, a real keen purchaser of goods, me. Look at me.
Okay, Lancelot. Make a man out of you yet.
Not too much of a man, mine. He's only a boy.
Just gonna show him how to drive the wagon a little. We'll save the real exciting realities of adulthood for another day. Come on, get.
You take care now.
Of course. It's nice getting out of the house, huh?
I like being in the house, Pa.
Life ain't just about doing things you like, boy.
Yes, sir. You make that clear enough.
What's that supposed to mean?
Only that you aren't so happy here with us.
Son, I'm happy. It's just... I find it hard, is all. You'll understand someday. Here. Want to take the reins a little?
no, Pa?
It's easy, boy. Don't be scared.
Well, what do I do?
Well, just hold them and pull them short and slow down. Tell them to go faster. Give them a little switch. And then pull to one side if you want to turn. Here, try it out.
Pa!
That's enough.
For now.
Back in strawberry, eh, kid?
Looks like.
You know, I think this is the longest I've seen you without a book in your hand.
It was foolish to forget mine, sir.
Look, I got some business to attend to with the clerk. I'll leave you with the wagon. Can I trust you not to drive off with it?
Oh, I think I can be trusted.
Back in strawberry, eh, kid?
Looks like.
You know, I think this is the longest I've seen you without a book in your hand.
It was foolish to forget mine, sir.
Look, I got some business to attend to with the clerk. I'll leave you with the wagon. Can I trust you not to drive off with it?
Oh, I think I can be trusted to that.
Very good. All right, here we are. You all right, son?
Sure.
Well, cheer up a little. You wait here. I won't be long.
Okay.
And if you behave, I might let you drive us home.
And...
Hi, I'm here to...
Name?
My name? Jim Milton.
Jim Milton. Nope, nothing here.
Maybe try Marston. John Marston. It's a long story.
Okay, John Marston. Marston... Nope, nothing here for that name either.
Try Abigail Roberts.
Abigail Roberts. Abigail Roberts. Yes, here we are.
And also, I'm here to pick up the deliveries for Pronghorn Ranch. David Getty sent me.
Pronghorn? Yes,
Here, you take the reins a little.
I ain't sure.
Come on, son. You'll enjoy it if you try a little harder.
Okay. Okay, Pa.
We're going back to Pronghorn, okay?
So, wait. We've come all the way out here and we just gonna turn around and go back?
That's what we're doing. Turns out, I missed the seclusion of the ranch more than I figured for.
Don't you want to go to the store or the saloon or anywhere?
We're going back. Okay, boy?
But I've been sitting in this wagon I don't know how long.
But nothing. Keep on driving and watch the road.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jesus. Find your father, okay? I got my reasons, even if I don't care to explain them.
Yes, sir.
Better. I tell you to speed up, speed up. If I say slow down, you slow down, okay?
Sure.
All right, speed up. Let's get away from there.
Okay. Here!
Who's this?
Sorry, sir. Was that a question for me?
No, keep driving.
What's wrong, Pa?
Nothing. Just a bit faster now. Oh, whoa.
Well, I don't like driving across here.
It's the same as any other road. Look where you want to go and the horse will follow.
Okay. I think the horse is getting skittish.
He'll be all right. Huh?
What?
Nothing. Just keep driving. Okay.
What? What's wrong?
Don't look around.
Oh, Pa,
Hey.
those men, are they following us?
Just stay calm. See that fallen tree? When we get there, stop the wagon, jump down, and hide.
Oh, Pa.
You need to do exactly as I say, boy. Here, now! Come on! Quick, down! Okay, son, you wait here. You don't move or say nothing until I speak to you. You hear?
Yes, sir.
Head down. Okay, gentlemen. Let's see what you come calling about. What do you boys want with us?
Oh, we just want to have a friendly chat. Are you John Marston? You sure look like him.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just here with my son.
Did you kill a fella out in Roanoke a few months back?
No. Wasn't me.
That was my brother.
I'm real sorry, friend, but he was trying to rob me.
You're talking bullshit, mister. Kill him. Better pray I kill you quick.
It's okay. You're okay.
What? Why? What?
It's okay. It's okay. Come on. Keep them eyes closed. Let's go. Come on. Giddy up.
Oh, dear, those men.
I told you not to look, boy.
Are they dead?
I didn't have much of a choice. You saw that. Now, compose yourself.
You killed them, Pa.
Son, I need you to hold it together. You were real brave back there. exactly like I said.
Really?
Uh-huh. If you hadn't listened, things could have gone real wrong for us. There. We're okay. Hey, you know, your mama wants us to buy some old ranch. You read to her about it, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
What was it called?
Mm-hmm.
What was the name, boy?
I don't like this much. Beecher's Home.
That's right. Beecher's Home. Over by Blackwater. You like the idea of that, huh? Us on the ranch?
I don't know.
I can see you as a rancher's boy. Like Duncan Geddes, huh? I wasn't so sure, but... yeah. That kind of life might suit us. Wouldn't be such a chore if the horses we were cleaning up after was ours, would it? No, it wouldn't. Okay, here we are. That was an, eventful trip. Go say hi to your mother.
How was the... What happened?
Yeah. I don't... We got shot at.
Shot at? What happened?
Well, we got followed, and then...
Followed by who?
Probably someone who knew me. If we didn't get to them particulars, I'm sorry.
My son. Our son!
It was your dress that caused all the problem.
It weren't even a dress. It was a gift for you.
Look, just do one thing or another. Not be two people at once. That's all I'm saying.
You won't hear any of it.
Not in front of the men.
You toad.
All right, smile, smile. Do not embarrass me. Mr. Milton, I should like to have a word with you. Milton?
Mr. Geddes?
Hey, I heard we had another incident with the Laramie boys.
Yeah, there was an
Well,
incident.
I mean to scare me.
Are you scared?
A little. I've got a lot invested in this place, and not just the land, but my family. It's hard to explain.
I understand. I'll do my best to keep you safe, sir.
I know you will. So how's your family?
Just fine. I should probably head back.
Yeah, I know how it is.
How'd you get on?
Okay, I guess.
Better?
Sure, I'm just tired.
I know. Anybody want some more?
No, I'm
thank
good.
you.
I miss Mr. Pearson.
John Marston, you're such a pig. All right, it's getting late. Let's get some rest. Good night, Jack.
Good night, Mama.
Good night, Jack.
Good night, Pa.
What was that?
What are you doing?
My job, Abigail. Lock this door behind me. Don't open it unless you know it's me.
Jim, you gotta do something. 2 of them by the stalls. They got... Oh!
Rich man's folly. You boys are all...
Who's this?
New hand.
Where's Geddes now?
I'll be up in a moment.
You know that?
They've killed Mr. Tolbert, and they've stolen my goddamn cattle. You men okay?
I think so.
Jim Milton saved my life. It's Mr. Abel.
Yeah, of course, it's Mr. Abel. I can't believe he thinks he can scare me out of here.
And I guess we're getting your cattle back,
I guess
sir.
we are. Can you go too, Tom?
Of course, sir.
All right, Jim. I know you can handle yourself.
A little.
Go get your guns and head out.
Guns?
Oh, don't play coy with me, son. We need your help. I don't care what you used to do or what your name is. This is the land of second chances.
Understood.
Okay.
Let me in, it's me.
What was it?
Mr. Geddes' cattle was taken.
I'm sorry to hear that. What are you doing in that thing?
Mr. Geddes been real good to us.
What are you doing?
My job, Abigail. My goddamn job. I'll lead the way. This is gonna be the last we hear out of them. Yeah! Right! Off your horses here. We'll be better on foot.
Okay.
If you say so.
That's the place up ahead.
There's our cows. A couple guards out front. A couple more around the side, I imagine. Let's get a closer look. Let's go. Yeah, there's plenty of guards. I'm gonna head straight in.
Yep.
Tom, you head up there and try and give us some cover. Abe, you're gonna try and flank the place and come in from the back. I'll give you a minute or two, then I'm heading in.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey! Hey! You boys been coming up to Pronghorn. I thought I'd come down here. You're all so tough. Come have a word. I ain't got time to look after you, kid.
I'm okay. They come with cattle.
Jim Milton! Look out, Tom! Let me deal with this.
I meant to be Milton.
Let's end this Pronghorn problem. They walked into it business, Jim.
Jim Milton! Jim Milton, you son of a bitch! I see you, Milton. You're gonna be sorry for what you've done. You're gonna pay, all right. You and your wife.
That's the fellow who shot my feet up.
I got this. You boys take cattle.
See you back there, son.
You the fella that said something about my wife.
Piss stinking, shit shoveling, backwoods, shaka, no good, trash.
You know that woman of yours got the look of a woman ain't had a real ride in her life. She's gotta make do with some piss-poor stinking farmhand. Hey, tell her I'll let her in my seats. As long as she bathes first in sheep dip, get the stink of you off of her. Farmhand!
Come on, lady.
Hey, you're back. You did real well, Mr. Milton. This man can really fight. Saved the whole place.
Ah, that weren't nothing.
Well...
You! Oh, you... You saved my life. No need to say nothing, sir. Just doing my job. Now, I don't think they'll be back tonight, but how about Abe? Just in case you stay up.
Yep.
See anything or hear anything, you fire that rifle 3 times.
3 times.
We'll all come running.
Will do.
Well said. And thank you, Mr. Milton. Truly.
Just glad to be of service, sir.
I understand. You get some rest.
Thank you, Mr. Geddes. What? What? What choice did I have? Just answer me that. What was I supposed to do?
Hey, Mr. Jim? Mr. Jim?
Hey!
There's a telegram messenger for you over there, near the house.
There is? Okay. Thanks, Abe.
What do you think you want?
I have no idea. But I doubt someone wants to give me a big pile of money. I see him. Thanks, Abe. Excuse me, mister? I'm Jim Milton. Would you had a telegram for me?
Yes. And to serve the public, people in high office, there's also a need to be very careful and thorough and cautious, because duly elected people deserve their duty like everyone else, and the presumption of innocence like everyone else. So you at the same time want to make sure that corrupt politicians are held to account, but also because they occupy a particularly special place in the government, having been elected, you want to make sure that you cross every T and dot every I.
Going back to the Greenberg hearing on Thursday, is there something you're going to be particularly looking at if, if he was to make some sort of a deal, would that be revealed in court on Thursday?
It's possible. A trial date has been set. It's not too far off, as I understand it. And so what sometimes will happen with somebody in his procedural posture, the prosecutors could signal that they need more time. They could signal that there's a plea in the offing, because you would have to plead guilty before you're signed up as a cooperator. So any shift in what's about to happen in coming
that bitch pisses me off all the fucking time, bitch. Fucking left me? Alright, bitch. I'm gonna go do me.
Maybe even being signed up as a cooperator, which I'll say for the second time, is very, very bad.
Also, if this was done, Mr. Greenberg or whomever was finding people online and making arrangements with websites and the like,
You know I love you, but love you means I can't watch you do this.
Stupid bitch.
I had to run because of your behavior and your decisions.
Yeah, with all the report again, reporting in the great school from Maggie Haberman and her colleagues and others,
our son enough that I
it
can't
looks
have him
like
around while you're
Matt Gaetz is
this.
not the most careful of human ever to have lived in America or to have served in Congress. He looks
We
like
all
he's
saw what
left the
happened to
trail.
him that didn't, but
There's
you,
already the surveillance footage that was
part of
referenced
this
before.
is hell-bent. Ended up the same way.
IDs at an office in Florida.
I love you too much to watch that no more.
He probably has telephone calls. He probably has toll records that can corroborate what a cooperating witness might say with respect to meetings and illicit activities, sexual or otherwise, by Matt Gaetz. So, to the extent they can get a live witness to say these are the things that happened and these are the things I did with Matt Gaetz, and then you have corroborating electronic evidence to support that, I'll say for the third time, it's very bad for Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, we should see Cooper. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. The Republican rhetoric ramped up even more today against companies who were criticizing those new Georgia voting laws. The Democrats say will limit voting rights.
Where's the wife, Milton?
She's out.
I saw her leaving with the boy and the bags.
surprise me.
What'd you do? Catch you with a showgirl? I hear about you shooting more fellas over by Strawberry? Who are you, Jim Milton?
I'm a family man.
Don't get mad. Get E-Trade. Start trading today.
Handle a gun.
Ever since
Sure.
Charles' family
Them men
started
shot at me.
Just interested,
their
that's all.
laundry smells more
Nothing
amazing
interesting.
than
Unless you find gossip about a man's marriage worthy of your time.
Guess not. There's work to be done. Unless you're running off too.
I ain't going nowhere. I'm here to work. Save money, get her what she wants.
What does she want?
She wants a place of her own. Then she found a plot up at Beecher's Hope.
You? A rancher?
Star. Probably.
Keep yourself busy. Take your mind off.
United Shades of America. You know we got a lot of problems. New season of United Shades of America. With me, Nick Marvell, premieres May 2nd at 10, ECN. Ideas want to be set free. To make the world even more incredible. Ideas start the future.
Hello world. Can you see me?
What the heck going on out here?
So hidden, I am here. Waiting to live my second life into my world. See? It's really not up to me. I want to live right my life.
against that new Georgia voting law, which Democrats say will restrict voting rights in the state. He again started into the baseball when moving the All-Star game out of the and protesting
I'll just get him.
The move, he said, would quote irritate Republican fans. He ultimately appointed both Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola, headquartered in Atlanta, which have also...
Sorry for the disturbance, sir.
Oh, no problem. My wife, she just began her morning discourse on the subject of my faults. Experience, I think every man can relate to.
Some ways, my wife...
What I'm saying here is, I think
my wife also has
stupid.
issues with some of the decisions I make.
Jump in the middle
Real
of
issues.
a highly controversial issue, particularly when they got their facts wrong.
Where is this heading?
Now, keep in mind, as McConnell hasn't always felt that way. Back in 2012, in a speech to the American Enterprise Institute, he said that all corporations, quote, should be free to express themselves and the issues of the day. And quoting, I mean, who's afraid here? Let's all have a conversation, he said, about the future of the country.
I need to get a place of my
Meanwhile,
own.
the former
So I can
president
prove
of
to my wife
Israel,
that
in a
I've
statement
changed.
over the weekend, he called for a boycott of Delta and Coke and others.
I ain't got much money. I ain't asking to borrow none.
Network Newsmax, he
Maybe you
directed
could
some fire at
go to the bank
Of course,
words, so you give me a loan?
January 6th riot.
Loan?
So I can buy that place, beat you.
Frankly, if Republican conservatives
Yes, I know.
ever got their act together, which they should, if we had some real leadership
Take
instead
my
of Mitch
advice,
McConnell on the
Take
group,
your money
if
and
we
go
had some
buy
real
passage
leadership,
on.
what you'd be
Go to
doing
Brazil
is
and
something much
forget
different.
all about
They'd be
family.
boycotting these companies,
Just
and those
joking,
companies
son.
would be coming.
Just make
That's
sure
what the
you deal
liberals
with
do.
Ansel
They
Atherton
boycott
at the
anybody
bank.
that
He's a
speaks
distant
out, they
cousin.
boycott them. They cancel them, and they
Here's my
boycott
name.
more
Tell him
people
to
than
ask
they
me
do.
direct himself. He'll get what you need.
Thank you, sir.
I was young and dumb once, too. You'll get her back.
So, Abby, what does it say that this issue, the Georgia voting law, is what pushed Republican leadership to publicly attack corporate America because they're obviously traditionally been GOP allies?
Well, it does seem to be kind of like a canary in the coal mine if you're a Republican. For so long, corporations were willing to speak out about issues like taxes and regulations, but now that they're talking about issues that are related to democracy, it's a huge problem on the Republican side. I think there's some real questions, though, about
With Arthur's hat, baby.
Mitch McConnell had to say. He said that there are, and former President Trump as well, suggesting that there are more, Republicans who would boycott these companies and people on the other side. I think if that were the case, I mean, these companies would be doing what's right for their bottom line. And so it seems to indicate that perhaps the numbers are not in their favor.
Let's see if that shit worked. Let's see, where's the pig farm?
Why do we wait on this as well today? It's really focused for our viewers.
It is reassuring to see that for-profit operations and businesses are speaking up about how these new Jim Crow laws are just antithetical to who we are.
We should point out that was not an off-the-cuff comment. The president deliberately chose to again label these measures as new Jim Crow laws.
Yeah, and, well, I think he's got a very good argument, and he also has a very loyal following. Yeah, that's exactly right. Corporations care about the bottom line. Okay? There are over 3,000 counties in America. Donald Trump carried 2,562 of them. Vast majority of the counties. Joe Biden only carried 509 counties. But those 509 counties account for 71% of the entire American economy. So these companies know what they're doing. And they are following the money, following their consumers. Corporate is kind of hilarious. OpenSecrets.org says McConnell himself and his affiliated PACs took $4.3 million in corporate money in the last 5 years. So he should give the money back. He's going to boycott their money and give it back.
Of course, they took his money.
Owie, doggy.
Never been an advocate for corporations to educate their
Cruel, cruel, must I go home? Cruel, cruel, I'm moving on. I've been living too fast, and I've been living too long. Cruel, cruel world, I'm gone. Desert roads, desert plain. I have seen so much pain. Now I see into the eyes of a girl. No more, no more cruel world. Cruel, cruel world, must I go on? I've been living too fast, and I've been living too long. Cruel, cruel world, I'm gone. dusty trail, saw a vapor light. Was it a mirage? I don't know, but it seemed right. I felt mission, I felt trust. I knew then that I must go to her from this cruel world. Cruel, cruel world, must I go on? Cruel, cruel world, I'm moving on. I've been living too fast, and I've been living too wrong. Cruel, cruel world, I'm gone. Too fast, and I've been living too long. Cruel, cruel world, I'm gone. Cruel, cruel world, I'm gone.
Out of you!
Stay back from the wagon, sir. Transporting a fugitive.
More.
Season of United Shades of America. With me, David Bell, premieres May 2nd at 10 on CNN.
make all American adults eligible for COVID vaccines April 19th, less than 2 weeks away. Still, New Zealand said the country must remain on what called a war footing to defeat the virus. I get perspective. Jessica Holm, director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota, who also advised President Biden's transition team. Professor, I mean, it could still take months for all adults who want the vaccine to actually receive it, despite President Biden moving up the deadline. What does that mean for the race against the virus that we're in?
Well, we have a real challenge right now, because even if we were able to get the vaccines that have been found out, it doesn't mean that we'll have enough to really slow down the virus in a meaningful way. For example, if you look at 2 states that are leading the country right now in terms of new cases, Michigan
really?
and Minnesota, we actually have very high levels of vaccinations relative to the rest of the country. And we're still seeing these very rapid increases in cases. So why isn't it more? It's just not enough people are vaccinated. If you look, we still probably have 45.
Alright, let's see if this trick works, guys. Let's see.
They previously had infection and developed immunity. So we've got a ways to go. It's great news that these vaccines are coming. I just wish we had another.
Yes, Arthur's money. Ah, sweet.
Variant surge started to occur.
And what percentage of the population would have to be vaccinated in order to actually make a difference?
Well, no one actually knows a real number, but I can tell you it's going to be very high. This particular virus is highly infectious. As we've now seen from the work done in Europe, it's anywhere from 50 to 100% more infectious than the previous strains of the coronaviruses we've been dealing with. So this is going to take a lot of people to be immune before we're going to see it slow down its transmission.
A new study that was published in the journal Lancet Psychiatry has found that as many as 1 in 3 people infected with COVID-19 have longer-term mental health and neurological symptoms. I've talked to people.
I really want to know what the hell happened to them. If Arthur didn't kill them.
Brain fog. How worried are you about the lasting impacts of this?
I think this is a huge challenge. Now we now call this long COVID, or used to be called long haulers. And, we've always known that people who spend a significant amount of time in an intensive care unit on a ventilator, weeks to months, will have ongoing health problems weeks to months after they get out. But what we haven't seen are these milder ill patients who otherwise, should do well, should recover. And in some cases, they virtually do recover completely, and then they develop this long-term chronic problem, as you call it, the brain fog, severe challenges in terms of their heart and their lungs. And we don't know much about this at all. And so this is a real concern, and it's going to be, I'm afraid, one of the legacy issues of this pandemic.
There's data today suggesting that after 2 doses of Moderna's vaccine, the immune response could stay robust for at least 6 months. Last week, data from Pfizer showed efficacy was still above 90% after at least 6 months. I know you're an advocate for giving a single dose of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines to more people rather than 2 doses to fewer people. Do you think people waiting to be vaccinated would be open to that? And do you still think that's a good idea?
I think it's a very critical idea. We are going to see just what's happening in Michigan and Minnesota play out around the country because of the number of people that we have vaccinated and those that we don't. Don't forget that every day that the media reports on 3 million more people being vaccinated, almost half of those are people who are just getting a second dose, not a first dose.
Appreciate your expertise. Thanks very much. News continues. Want to hand over to Chris for one more prime time. Chris?
You don't got to look far to find somebody who's got long haul symptoms. You work with one, brother. And I think we have to call the whole class of it the untreated. Because they don't know what this is. They don't know whether what I sense in terms of my mental acuity is age, not understanding how I was before, or some type of fog, or whatever you want to call it. The lung issues, the heart issues, people have soft tissue issues. They're just starting to learn. There's only a handful of centers around the country that are even studying it because we're in crisis. I believe that long haul, or whatever you want to call it, is actually going to be the story a year from now and ahead of that. Because that's when we'll really have time to start focusing on it, kind of weed out, whether people are just wrong about it or it was something else. We got a long way to go on that. But it's good to keep talking about it because I'll tell you, it's what I hear about most. So appreciate you bringing it up, Anderson. I'll see you soon. I'm Chris Cuomo. Welcome to Primetime. We have breaking news on our watch from the New York Times tonight. If Congressman Matt Gaetz has nothing to answer for, if the federal investigation of alleged activities may be involving prostitution, even underage females, if it's all a sham, why would he ask Trump for a pardon? That's what the New York Times is reporting tonight. That Gaetz privately asked Trump and the White House in the ugly final days of that presidency for blanket preemptive pardons for himself as well as for unidentified congressional allies. Now remember, a preemptive pardon means for any crimes that I may have committed, I'm pardoned. CNN hasn't confirmed the story yet, but if true, you have to ask, do innocent people seek out preemptive pardons? Sources tell the Times top White House lawyers and officials viewed the request as a non-starter because they didn't want to set a precedent of giving pardons preemptively. Also tonight, the congressman has no shame in his game. He is fundraising off these allegations. Think about what that means as part of political climate. That the mere suggestion of wrongdoing can be weaponized and said, see, they're coming after me now because they're really coming after you. And it works. He's raising money against what he calls lies about his, quote, dating life spread by the left. Let's just be clear. We don't know what he did or didn't do. That's going to be about the investigation. And anybody asking for action before that, I believe, is playing politics. But the Trump Justice Department started this, not the left. I never heard of it before any of this came through. I never heard of it in the media. I never heard of it from any lefties. They were never pitching this. And whoever came forward about the photos that Gaetz showed on the congressional floor, pretty sure they weren't Democrats, because they would have gone bad on him right away. So, if you're looking at it that way, it was Barr who was in charge. And who was in charge of Barr? Donald Trump. You know who hasn't come forward to defend one of his most loyal servants? Donald Trump. Even Gates' fellow Republicans seem to be secretly turning on him. Remember, those new photos were leaked from someone that he showed. Who else did he show them to?
We'll be expecting our money back.
Now, whether you care about the political, I'm talking the politics of this. You know what Gaetz has that is a very interesting aspect of this? You know what he's doing on Friday? I'm not kidding. He's going to be speaking at a Women for America First event at Trump's Doral Club in Florida. A woman's event at a Trump club. Now, to be clear, I don't want to talk about Gaetz. I want to talk to Gaetz. He is invited on this show, okay? He's taken his shot at me, which was completely unfair, and he's still welcome on this show. And he is declining, which he had never done before, and had told me many times he never would. He always wants the opportunity to defend himself. I think he's entitled to that. I think he's entitled to due process like everybody is here. And I think our politics gets ahead of it too often. But I have to ask, why would you prospective donors want to pump an embattled representative with cash when he won't even take the opportunity to answer the questions before him? Interesting. Now, the congressman evidently saw our exclusive last night that blew a giant hole in his extortion explanation about all this. That's what he says. Don't look over here. Don't look over here, where all these investigations going on about the women and the activity. It's really about this extortion plot that's going on. One, the two things have nothing to do with each other. But it retweeted a link to the interview with a key figure last night that he is accusing of extortion. Take a look.
I don't have anything to do with the investigation into Matt Gaetz.
Gaetz says his father was wearing a wire. Are you concerned about what he has on you on tape?
I hope his father was wearing a wire.
You hope he was wearing a wire?
Yes.
And there was no attempt to extort, there was no threat, there was no demand?
There were no threats, there were no demands.
Why can't I give him money?
A former Air Force intel officer. He says what you heard him say. Gaetz says no. And says if the wiretap, not the wiretap, if the secret recording is put out, they will all be right there. And he's asking for them to be released. He put out a tweet. And in that tweet, he called on the DOJ to release the tapes of the alleged extortion attempt and says all of it is there. Kent, whom he's accusing, says he hopes that it was taped, so that you can hear what he said to Gates' father. A really interesting part of this story, because remember, it is a big part of the defense that Gates has. It's all a setup. They're all coming after him. Look at the extortion. I got to tell you, Bob Kent did himself a favor by coming on and answering the questions directly, but Gates won't take the same opportunity. So, there's a lot to take apart tonight with that. And we have former number 2 at the FBI to do it. But first things first. We're 2 days into week 2 of the George Floyd murder trial. We've seen 20 witnesses up on that stand for the prosecution. Week 2 has an interesting focus on the training here. What were you supposed to do? But more importantly, what was Chauvin doing? Was that right or wrong? The knee on the neck for that duration, was it ever taught? Is it ever okay? And if it is ever okay, under what circumstances? 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Does that fit into any sense of right? Among the witnesses today, a Minneapolis Police Department lieutenant who trained Chauvin on use of force. Take a listen.
Sir, is this an MPD trained neck restraint?
No, sir.
Say, for example, the subject was under control and handcuffed. Would this be authorized?
I would say no.
And how long, based on training and experience, does it typically take to render a person unconscious using a neck restraint?
My experience is under 10 seconds.
Under 10 seconds?
So, which side did today's police testimony help or hurt, or both? And how so? How is it apportioned? Let's take it to the better minds. You have Van Jump, Mark O'Mara. You may remember him as the lead defense attorney for George Zimmerman in the Trayvon Martin murder trial. Good to have you both. So let us start with one of the pieces of sound today about specializing in use of force training and what those people have to say about what Chauvin was doing, and in this context, how it should be judged. Take a listen.
Once the subject is handcuffed and compliant, resisting, is the officer to remove their knee?
That would be an appropriate time.
Why would you roll someone into the side recovery position after they've been handcuffed and are compliant?
Several reasons are there, but one would be to prevent a potential situation where they might be subject to positional asphyxiation.
Now, this testimony backed up Chauvin's direct supervisor and the police chief, who both said basically the same thing. Now, let's look at it a little in reverse. We understand why that is effective for the prosecution. What can they do with it, Mark?
Well, what they can do is they can sort of show what the different people are saying about the different events. You know, they're going to try and get across the fact that stress, whether it's the crowd, whether it's the people, whether it's the stress of the moment. What he's really trying to do is suggest Chauvin had a reason for doing what he did, and he didn't do anything with any intent. That's why we're hearing
not really
shoulder blade instead of a neck, and that's why we're hearing that Chauvin may have been distracted by bystanders and whatnot. Don't forget that what the defense is supposed to do in any case like this is throw out enough information that may lead to reasonable doubt so that he can argue to a jury in closing arguments and through the rest of the case that there's not enough here for you to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, all 12 of you, that what he did, what Chauvin did, was truly a crime, as opposed to poor training, misunderstanding of training, and everything else that we now see the defense starting to put together as a little peppering of the state's case.
So they were traumatized then, or they had some case of reckless disregard because officers knew he didn't have a pulse.
Oh, Uncle.
And when you look at someone's footage of Chauvin, when he has the knee on the neck, he has his hand in his pocket, which is a very unusual posture.
No, not really, Uncle. But come on.
Because you got to be ready to, especially if you're under stress.
Now he gonna talk shit like a little bitch.
On how the approach of training is playing in this trial.
Well, I think that the prosecution is doing a great job. I do wonder if they're doing too much of a good job. I mean, you already had the police chief come out, and this guy made every police officer on planet Earth proud. If you are a police chief, a police commissioner, or a police officer, please look at the testimony from the police chief. He was he absolutely had command of both sides of the issue, the need for law and order, but also the need for trust and respect. And I don't know why we are still talking. I'm starting to, what more do we have to prove and say? And what you saw today was, now they're just finding little, tiny little things to pick at.
Well, they're nervous. Van, they gotta be nervous. The prosecutors have to be nervous. If they don't do anything, that after the fact, a Van Jones or an O'Mara or anybody can say, I can't believe that they didn't push this part. They don't want to be in that position. That takes us to a big element of this. The epithet of what has been here with I can't breathe, okay? Now there is an ugly, I would suggest, mythology about that. You know, if a guy says, O'Mara, I can't breathe, you know what that means? That means he can breathe because he's talking. Now that sounds right, but it's wrong, but it came up in the trial. Listen.
Do you train officers that, as part of your training, you train officers that if a person can talk, that means that they can breathe?
No, sir.
Why not?
Well, that would be incomplete to say, because there is a possibility that somebody could be in respiratory distress and still being able to verbalize it.
Impact, Mark.
I think very, very important, because I'm not sure where law enforcement got that training from, where they can say he's okay because he's screaming. We know many cases that have ended up in death where that has happened. Another very famous I can't breathe case, of course. So the problem with it is that it actually is this sort of mantra that they say, and they seem to believe that if he can tell me he can't breathe, I can keep the pressure on. And unfortunately, for Chauvin, one of the training officers said, no, we would do the opposite. You can scream with or speak with your last breath before you pass that you can't breathe. Speaking, not breathing appropriately.
Something we've already learned in this trial that I think we should accept as progress, subject to your approval, Van, because I'm asking you the question, so we'll see if you agree. You said that
I don't know why you even listen to Uncle. Ignore that fool.
Acquitting himself well. I have never seen
we got this, Johnny boy.
Testify like this. Everybody talks about the blue wall, and you know what? In a job like that, it is good to have one another's back. However, it's about the righteous cause. I've never had an officer tell me that he would have done what Derek Chauvin did in this case. They've talked to me about different things that also have to be involved. It's not as simple as it looks, and other things that I'm sure they believe are helpful to point out. But what does it mean to you that you've had a number of police officers involved in this trial, nobody grudgingly, nobody trying to shut up and just say what they need to say to get a brother out of trouble?
Yeah, look, it is unusual. And I think about, 1992 with Rodney King, and that was, I think for my generation, that was the first time we had seen a incident, and we had a criminal trial of police, and that whole idea of test a lie. The cops don't testify, they test a lie to help each other. All that sort of stuff got baked into, the culture in terms of, folks in Los Angeles where I am and other, that you just can't trust the cops to do the right thing when a cop is in trouble. And yet you're seeing it now. You are seeing police officers doing what they should do. They're telling the truth. They're speaking honestly about what the actual training is, and I think that it should be encouraging. However, if we get in a situation where a case this terrible with this much videotaped evidence, this many community people, and the police coming forward saying this is wrong, if the jury still can't find a way to convict, I think it's going to be very disappointing to a lot of people. But you have to say today, you have to say that the police who have been testifying have been doing the proper job, the job that you want them to do. It doesn't happen in most cases. In my experience, it's happening in this one.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Appreciate the help to the audience. Van Jones, Mark O'Mara. Now, we're looking at this Matt Gaetz scandal. I'm not paying a lot of attention to the political dynamics. I will when we need to. But it's about peeling back the layers of what we can understand as fact, okay? Now, did the congressman ask the Trump White House for a blanket pardon? He's on Twitter all the time. Did you, congressman? If so, why? I'm sure you'll have an explanation. Please offer it. Don't have people filling in answers for you. There is new reporting tonight that suggests that you did. He may have been under investigation at the time by the Trump DOJ for a whole host of allegations that could involve child sex trafficking. So we're going to come back with a former FBI insider. And we want to take a look at the exclusive interview we had last night with a man that Gates claims is trying to extort him. Did the interview set off any alarms for Brother McCabe? Let's see next.
I was headed there anyway, Uncle. I stopped to say hi to your punk ass.
At Charmin, we make paper, but we love trees.
Man, I can't
That's why
either,
we
bro.
protect forests
Okay, let's
by
go.
using pulp certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use. And it's why, when forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy the go, but forests remain forests. Charmin. I'm Erin, and I'm Margo.
Eat Uncle, bro.
Charted our own paths. I wasn't going to just back down from moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis. Psoriatic arthritis wasn't going to change who I am. When I learned that my joint pain could mean permanent joint damage, I asked about Enbrel. Enbrel helps relieve joint pain and helps stop permanent joint damage. Plus, Enbrel helps skin get clearer in psoriatic arthritis. Ask your doctor about Enbrel so you can get back to your true self. Enbrel may lower your ability to fight infections. Serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been someplace where fungal infections are common, or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu. Visit Enbrel.com to see how your joint damage could progress. Enbrel. Eligible patients may pay as little as $5 per month. When it comes to school, we use grades to measure a child's success. But learning is much more than grades. And that's why Kumon is such a valuable addition to every child's life. Yes, Kumon teaches the book smarts in math, reading, and writing that help kids do well on tests. But Kumon is about much more than that. It's about teaching kids to think critically, to retain and apply what they learn, not just memorize it, and to challenge themselves to study higher grade level material. Give your kids the advantages of Kumon. Kumon, where smart kids get smarter.
ED affects you. Her. Him. Them. ED affects the whole relationship. HIMS makes it simple to get effective ED medication, all from home. We'll match you with a licensed medical provider. If prescribed, it's delivered to your door in discreet packaging. Get your relationship back on track with a free online visit. Go to 4hims.com/ED.
When news happens anywhere in the world, CNN is there.
A CNN investigation into a peaceful protest turned deadly.
They heard an explosion. There was an exchange of gunfire. Growing concern here, imports might be carrying the virus.
The pandemic's now robbing many of even a minimum income.
This family, $3 per month. The country's always been changing, but it's never been as fast as it has been.
We're going to go see if he has anything to say.
Was it your team that poisoned Navalny?
The greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life! John Cena and Nicole Byer host. All new episodes of Wipeout Thursdays at 9 on TBS.
New information about Congressman Gates on our watch from the New York Times. They are reporting that the congressman pushed for a preemptive blanket pardon for himself and unidentified congressional allies in the final weeks of Trump's term. It would have happened not long after
golly. Ow, 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 that hurts.
Like this. President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn. He should pardon the Thanksgiving turkey. He should pardon everyone from himself to his administration officials to Joe Exotic if he has to, because you see from the radical left a bloodlust that will only be quenched if they come after the people who worked so hard to animate the Trump administration with the policies and the vigor and the effectiveness that delivered for the American people.
Yeah. So, is that the reason? It's just politics, and he was saying that everyone's going to get attacked, so he followed through with what he said on TV and went and asked for a pardon. A Gates spokesperson tells the Times this is just, quote, entry-level political operatives conflating his television comments with an actual push for a pardon. Well, the White House reportedly would not consider this, which means that seems to suggest from the reporting that there was a request. What we know for sure is that Gates's misdirection play when it comes to the sex trafficking investigation took a beating here on Cuomo Primetime last night in the form of the man at the center of the allegation, Bob Kent. Now, few know the reality of what that investigation looks like better than a former deputy director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe. It's good to see you. What is your general take, Andrew, on the idea of asking for a preemptive pardon, maybe while you are under investigation?
Well, I'll say, Chris, that Congressman Gates' hyperbolic comments on television aside, anyone involved in this process knows that the acceptance of a pardon carries with it the presumption that one needed a pardon. So people who weren't in any sort of jeopardy would not ever be interested in actually getting a pardon, which brings us back to Congressman Gates. I think it's incredibly incriminating that he actually approached the White House. If we believe the New York Times reporting, there's no reason not to. Two sources in the White House apparently indicated that he had those conversations. So it's very, very curious.
Now look, he may have just done it for political reasons. Who knows? We're not going to know anything until the investigation comes out. My interest in the extortion side of this is that I think it could be a clever misdirection play, and while two things can be true at the same time, right, which is he's got issues on one side with his own behavior and maybe one of his friends, and there is this DOJ investigation of extortion, but it doesn't mean that one would clear up the other. So I want to play you a piece of sound and see if this squares with your understanding. So Kent says, I asked him, the FBI been in contact with you? Here's what he says. You say the FBI has contacted. Have they made it known to you that you are under investigation for extortion?
They have not. They brought me in to discuss the situation, and I've been cooperating.
When you say the situation, what situation?
They asked me about the meeting that I had with Don Gates.
Now, I've always been thrown by this. I guess if a congressman comes to the FBI and says, I'm being extorted, you can't do nothing.
Sure.
But what did you think about the man last night and his demeanor? And what do you think about the idea of the FBI bringing him in, but just having a general conversation if they are thinking about extortion?
Well, Chris, the FBI is not necessarily going to sit down at that conversation and say, okay, before we get started, Mr. Kent, you should know that you're the subject of an investigation about a possible extortion. But what they will do is ask him very detailed questions about the meeting that was at the heart of that alleged extortion effort. And that was the meeting between he and Don Gates. It was clear from his interview with you, his responses to your questions, that they did exactly that. They asked him about the meeting he had with Don Gates, what he said to Don Gates, what he was basing those claims on, whether or not he had any actual insider information about the DOJ investigation of Nat Gates's conduct with minors. So they got right at the heart of the issue, and my guess is that they probably resolved any concerns that extortion was actually taking place.
Now look, he's a pro. He's an intel guy. But he betrayed no concern about any of my questions, and I asked him all the questions like 3 different times, trying to get him, just to see if he would change his demeanor. What is your sense that this isn't going to wind up being about Kent or about extortion, but that's going to be about another guy named Joel Greenberg, who they really have right now? They indicted him. They got him on charges. He's got a status conference later this week. He's got an arraignment on a new set of charges on him on Friday. He is in trouble for exactly what they're looking at Gates for.
Yeah, no doubt. Kent is a sideline for the story. I thought his answers to your questions seemed credible. He was consistent in his responses. Seemed pretty clear that this guy was picking up on some rumors that he had heard about the Gates investigation, which apparently were well known in the North Florida area by many people. And he was trying to take advantage of it as an opportunity to pursue his own interest in getting Bob Levittson back. Greenberg is a totally different character. Greenberg has a
You're gonna get kicked.
He is currently facing very serious charges, extensive time in jail, and he is a desperate man. And desperate men talk to the authorities to try to get themselves a better deal. And if Greenberg flips and provides evidence against Matt Gates, the expanse and possibility of that evidence is really endless. That could turn this into a much, much more serious situation for Congressman Gates.
You're not a politician, but it's an interesting tactical play by Gates. He's been very aggressive in coming out. He picked a dummy forum to come out and have his TV interview just to get his message out there. Wasn't asked any of the right questions because the guy was on his heels talking to him the whole time. But he's never mentioned Greenberg. Never. And that may be the name that matters most. Andrew McCabe, to be continued, and thank you.
Good God, man. It's like a year away.
Well, President Biden moves the vaccination goalposts for all adults up, not back. And he says, no more confusing rules and restrictions.
Civilization.
But there is still a lot. We're lucky. We have a key White House COVID response player here tonight. Let's talk truth to power. Next.
I'll be mad as heck.
Hiking is just a chance to get outside, to get away from your everyday life, see wildlife, see sunrise and sunsets, and just get away and totally disconnect if you want.
I'm David Pepin, and this is my wife Deirdre. We've been in Steamboat for over 20 years, and we love to hike the trails around Steamboat.
No.
Because I get to spend time with my wife. It's really
No. Easy connection. A simple hug or a smile. We miss walking through the hallways with classmates. Team sports. Working out. Even going to the office. But you can still feel a strong sense of community with custom gear from Custom Ink. We've developed new tools to make it easy to create custom gear and ship it to people wherever they are, even when we need to keep apart. Custom Ink has hundreds of products, including masks to help you stay connected. Upload your logo or start your design today at customink.com.
This is how you become the best.
Don't get mad, get each other. At Charmin, we make paper, but we love trees. That's why we protect forests by using pulp certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use. And it's why, when forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy the go, but forests remain forests. Charmin.
At American Sail, we're known for having the best selection of pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and grills. Everything you need for your outdoor fun. More importantly, it's the quality of the products we sell, and our product experts can answer any of your questions. And right now, you can save up to 50% on half of your sales tax. Or get 0% financing and get our lowest price guarantee. At American Sail, we're open, so come visit us or visit us online. American Sail, bring the fun home.
Each year, Americans waste $21 billion by overpaying on car insurance. That's why I went to thezebra.com. Because while every company claims to save you money on car insurance, the Zebra shows you who actually can. You can easily compare quotes from top providers all at once. With the Zebra, you can save up to $375 a year. No fees and no spammy phone calls. Because who needs that?
See what you can save. Compare car insurance for free at thezebra.com.
Cooper, Cuomo, Levy. The best primetime lineup is only on CNN.
We need to know who's telling us the truth in power.
Weeknights starting at 7.
Did you know that your toughest cleaning problems can be caused by hard water metals? They lock in residues like a glue on your hard surfaces and fabrics. Try 9 Elements. Its vinegar-powered deep clean dissolves hard water buildup and releases trapped residues and odors like detoxifying your clothes. Made with never more than 9 ingredients. 9 Elements. More than a clean, a cleanse.
What are my stats? Now this. Stuff I control. Well, my investments are tracking out. My mortgage will be paid off in 12 years. And I know exactly how much I spend. $940 on food. Yeah, I eat. $2,600 on the Tesla car. Oh, and I'm retiring at 61. My wife is on the cash. Know your stats and track your finances. Quick. Try risk-free for 30 days.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
The president is moving up the deadline to make all adults in America eligible for the COVID vaccine. Listen.
I'm announcing today that we're moving that date up from May 1st to April 19th nationwide. But beginning April 19th, every adult in every state, every adult in this country is eligible to get in the line to get a COVID vaccination.
Being eligible is good, but it doesn't mean you will be able to get vaccinated. And that's what we need, especially when you see the trend in new cases of almost 10,000 in the last 2 weeks. Let's discuss with the White House Senior Advisor for COVID Response, Andy Slatter. It's good to see you. I hope you had a good Pesach at the family.
Thanks, Chris.
So,
I'm myself here, but it was a good celebrate.
Good. Got to get them vaccinated, not just in line. Kaiser Foundation says half the adults who tried to make an appointment fail. 4 in 10 are still in wait-and-see mode. The harder it is to get an appointment, the longer people won't get it. How do you fix it?
Well, let's just take exactly where we are today. We've got it's about 76% of seniors that have had their first shot, and we're on track so that by the weekend, half the adults in the country will have had their first shot. So let's take stock of where that we've come from. When we got here on January 20th, we were at about 8%. So it's getting easier. Part of it's because there's more supply. Part of it is because it's in more places. Part of it is because there's more vaccinators. Now what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks is we really need to make sure that more seniors get their shots, because starting on the 19th, we're going to have some more floodgates again. We're going to have more people coming. We really got to keep pushing because we've got to get closer and closer to that point where every adult who wants one can have a shot. And we think that's going to happen as we get into May, as we get towards the end of May.
Now, I know you only want to look forward, but I think it's important for the record. How big a mistake was it, and how much better off would we be today if the prior administration had said, no, we're going to own this. We're owning testing. We're owning the vaccines. We are going to head up the entire effort. We will work with all the states. We are best equipped to do this. It will not be state first with us as an echo. How big a difference would it have made?
I think we're seeing the benefits of having I'll call it a general-like president who is very calm, very clear, very decisive, who is talking to the states every day and pushing to get dates moved up more quickly, who's working collaboratively and diplomatically, even where we know there's governors that disagree with the administration. And we find that a more effective route than I think your question, which implies, which is a year ago when we were looking at testing, the regimen was, hey, let's leave states to be responsible. That way, if it doesn't go very well, we won't take the blame. I think we've come in with the philosophy, and the president has pushed us to say, look, whatever happens, we need to take accountability. If things aren't going well, take accountability and fix it. There's no one else to blame.
You got New York on pace to hit 85 in 2 months. Alabama won't hit 75 until October. Georgia won't hit 75 until November. There's just so much randomness across the country. And yet, there is something that is growing to be a universal truth that I think is the biggest challenge. And it doesn't get discussed enough, so let's start tonight. People are done, Andy. They've had it. They know there are more cases. They know the variant's the real deal. They know it spreads faster. They know it spreads even to kids. But they're not seeing people die at any kind of scary rate. And they're done. States are opening. Many don't even feel that they need to get the vaccine because things are opening up anyway, and there is no big benefit to getting the vaccine. There's no such thing as a vaccine passport. You don't get any privileges. You don't get to go back to work sooner. You don't get to go to places that you want to go any more easily. So why even deal with the headache? How do you take that on? The passport thing I've asked you about before, but that people are done, Andy, and states are opening up anyway.
Yeah. Well, you're not wrong, Chris. I mean, there's a couple things that I think we have to, reckon with and understand. The first is that it's very hard to keep in our heads good news and bad news at the same time. And we've dealt with so much bad news that, guys, wouldn't it be nice to just take a breather and say, it's done, it's behind us? And we'd be less than honest if we led people to believe that just because we're making progress, that we're done. The second thing is that once people get vaccinated, it really is an incredible relief for people who are watching.
I thought that was the store.
Thing after all of
Not
this
the
time.
store.
We do have to remember that there are 100 million plus adults that still haven't been vaccinated. They're not there yet. And, you don't win the war until you bring everybody over with you. And that's the spirit of this country. When we're at our best, Chris, I like to think we're the country that says we are going to bring everybody there with us. And even if that means we've got to slow down a little bit, or we've got to prolong some of the things we're really eager for a little bit, then we're going to have to do that. For our part, either way, our job is to get it done as fast as possible. So
right.
That's
What
why
I'm saying is,
the president accelerate time frames.
You are not in control of access, right? So what happens is you say, just hold on a little bit longer. Wear the mask. Be smart. And people say no. And my state's opening up anyway. So I appreciate the advice, Andy, but take a hike. And they go out, they go to their restaurants, they live their lives. Schools will open. Tony Fauci said, get the schools open, keep them open. And now you got Osterholm saying, ooh, I was wrong about going back to school. People are saying, forget the mixed messages. The science isn't there. I want my kid in school. If you get sick, they get sick. They're not going to die. And we've had enough. I think it's a really big problem, and I think the horse is out of the barn. I don't think anybody's going to mask up and live any harder than they did in the past.
But we're not powerless. I don't feel like that's not a situation we can affect. And I'll give you an example. You talk about schools. The president decided at the beginning of March that we were going to vaccinate teachers and daycare workers. And we just announced that at the end of March, 80% of teachers and healthcare workers have been vaccinated. So, there are tools we have.
Yes.
And, I think we can sit around and say, oh, the public's tired and all those things. And those things may be true, but none of those things means we don't have the tools to try to accelerate and to try to make a difference. We know we're racing against both the variants, as you've discussed, but also against fatigue. That's very much a reality. And we're gonna race. So the president keeps pushing us to go faster.
We've talked about the vaccine passport. I know it's not a reality right now, and I know you've got all these big brother faux libertarians who are really just Trumpers on the other side attacking that. You can't make someone get a vaccine. Of course not. But imagine if there were perks. I think it's an interesting topic, and I'm always willing to pursue it. But I really appreciate you taking on these questions, Andy. I know you don't get them asked everywhere, but I hear it from people, and I just want to give you a chance to address what I hear coming at me. So thank you for doing it. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, be well. Mitch McConnell is in a twist again. Why? He doesn't like that corporations are speaking up for voting rights. Listen to what he said. Shut up and stay out of politics. Oh, but I don't mean donations. Just think about that for a second. Shut up, stay out of politics, but keep donating. Why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly where McConnell is on this and why. And you need to have open eyes about it. Next.
You've been dreaming of getting back to the beach. Time to make it real. Plan your getaway with Secrets Resorts and Spas and Apple Vacations. Visit applevacations.com.
Dad, it's a video call. Hold the phone in front of me. Give Mom.
Power E-Trade gives you an award-winning app with 24/7 support when you need it the most. Don't get mad. Get E-Trade and start trading today.
When news happens anywhere in the world, CNN is there.
A CNN investigation into a peaceful protest turned deadly.
They heard an explosion. There was an exchange of gunfire. Growing concern here, imports might be carrying the virus.
The pandemic's now robbing many of even a minimal income.
This family, $3 per month.
The country's always been changing, but it's never been as fast as it has been.
We're going to go see if he has anything to say.
Was it your team that poisoned the family?
Start each new day with Alison Camerata.
Hold on a second, Mr. Mayor. Can you get some facts about it?
And John Bourbon.
A crisis situation overnight.
For the most news in the morning. New day, weekday morning starting at 6
You're a dick.
When news happens anywhere in the world, CNN is
The crackdown inside Belarus has been significantly worse.
Oh shit! Well, we gotta go. We gotta go to Saint Denis. Charles Smith is alive, I reckon.
Charles Smith alive? Really?
I reckon. This, I dreamed it all, and by the sound of it, not doing too good neither.
My nigga Charles. Gonna find my nigga Charles.
Go international, anytime, anywhere, from selected devices.
No, white people, y'all can't say
Stream
it.
it live now.
That is all.
CNN Go International.
We can't calculate our total taxes.
Do you realize how many different taxes we pay?
Never like this place.
Sales tax. Different POS systems in all 7 countries.
And online sales?
That's a whole other system. And different regulations. There's real estate credits, solar incentives.
And we have no way to integrate that.
No. But BDO does.
People who know BDO.
So who climbs ladders to clean their gutters?
Dad, I keep telling you it's dangerous.
Climbing ladders is too dangerous. Leaf Filter puts an end to that. So how does it work? Leaf Filter's 3-piece system filters out leaves and debris, letting water flow through freely.
Do we need to replace our gutters?
Great question. Leaf Filter can be installed right on top of your existing gutters. We're sold. Call 833-LEAF Filter or go to getleaffilter.com for your free gutter inspection and estimate.
Okay, we're recording now. Would you like to start from the beginning?
Senator Mitch McConnell issued a new warning for big businesses against Georgia's voter suppression law.
My warning, if you will.
Bomb, be the easiest way to bond with your horse. Leading that mug.
It's not what you're designed for. Republicans buy stock and fly on planes and drink Coca-Cola too. So what I'm saying here is I think this is quite...
Mitch McConnell's when Republicans buy sneakers too on me.
...of a highly controversial issue.
Yeah, unless they're saying what he wants them to say. But just because he says it with a straight face doesn't mean he's playing it straight. He's playing the game. This comes after he accused businesses on Monday of economic blackmail, calling them vehicles for far-left mobs to hijack our country. Really? Because Major League Baseball pulled its All-Star game out of Atlanta? Now people are watching other big companies to see if they'll follow. Minority Leader says businesses should stay out of politics. But shouldn't that mean their money too? Oh, no, not the money. Listen.
I'm not talking about political contributions. Most of them contribute to both sides. They have political action committees. That's fine. It's legal. It's appropriate. I support that.
But if you want them to stay out and they don't, then why don't you refuse to take their money? Come on. McConnell himself has benefited from corporate involvement in politics. Over the last 5 years, his campaign got more than $4 million in corporate cash. A super PAC he's aligned with also reportedly took in, ready? $475 million from the likes of Chevron and Koch Industries. How's that square with his past? In 2003, he personally filed suit against laws that limited how much companies could spend in elections. In 2010, he praised the Supreme Court's landmark Citizens United case that allowed big businesses to spend freely in federal elections. Cash is speech. 2014, he called Democratic efforts to set limits on corporate campaign spending in federal elections a threat to free speech. Yet here he is, threatening the free speech of businesses willing to speak out against Jim Crow 2.0. Lawmakers like McConnell are okay if voting rights are suppressed. Others like Georgia State Representative Park Cannon are fighting to save them. And she was arrested for it. Now could face serious time. She's here tonight with her attorney. Why? Next.
Dad, it's a video call. Hold the phone in front of you. Get Mom.
Power E-Trade gives you an award-winning app with 24/7 support when you need it the most. Don't get mad. Get E-Trade and start trading today.
Audi e-tron, the next frontier of electric.
It's impossible for the biggest team to nail the smallest details. Until it's not. Defining possible with EPD. The kit kits they love are an easy way to support your child's learning. Each kit includes expert design toys and activities that build important skills and inspire your child through stage-based play. Oh yeah, about stage-based play. When you sign up for the play kits, we deliver a box every 2 to 3 months that's matched to your child's age and their community with. Love Heaven provides the map to help you confidently guide your child's learning. Unlock the joy of intentional play.
At CNN, we see the devastation caused by natural disasters, famine, and death. We also see how the generosity of others can change lives. You and CNN's Impact World can help. Reputable charities that are checked out by CNN. See the difference it makes. You give time, share stories, or donate by just clicking the button. Be a part of the solution. Impact your world.
Help your neighbors in need with Feeding America.
Life is sometimes hard. Sometimes we don't have as much. The food bank is a place where my family gets help getting food.
Mitch McConnell and other Republicans have made their message to corporations quite clear. If you co-sign these calls for protecting voting rights or any so-called leftist agenda, be prepared to face consequences. Consequences which seem to extend to Democrats, like Georgia State Rep Park Cannon, who was arrested while knocking on Governor Kemp's door during the signing of their state's controversial voting rights bill. Why? Well, some said they were afraid of a riot if they let her stay there and keep Park knocking on the door. You buy that? Cannon's lawyer says she now faces 8 years in prison. She and her attorney, Gerald Briggs, join us now. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Hello.
So, Rep, I see that your arm's in a sling. I've heard reports that you injured it during the arrest. Is that true? If so, how did it happen?
You know, that is true, and I do want to thank you for having me and for everyone who's reached out as it relates to praying for me and also just realizing this moment is important because we're going to keep knocking. We're going to continue to raise our voices, and at this moment, I do not have a full medical report, but look forward to being healed.
All right. The police say you are a foot stomper who refused to leave when asked to when you were knocking on the door. And by foot stomping, I'm saying that they say you stomped on an officer's foot. Did you stomp on an officer's foot, and did you refuse to leave when asked to while knocking?
Well, you know, there are witnesses and video evidence of everything in this case, and so we believe that the police report is factually inaccurate. And once the witnesses are able to be interviewed by law enforcement and by the prosecutor, I think the truth will come out.
That's the legal point. The political point is, why did you do what you did, Park? What mattered to you? You knew it wasn't going to go well when the police came up. What were you doing?
I'm 29 years old, and I'm elected to the district where Dr. King's birth home is, the Carter Center, even the state capitol. I'm also internally elected as the caucus secretary, so it is doubly my job as a state legislator and the secretary to attend bill signings as well as follow the process through so that the public can understand what is happening. Senate Bill 202 has had an irregular process from the start. The hearing dates would move around. I would get a post-it note on my desk that would say, we were going to hear you in the morning, but we'll hear you in the evening. Then the hearing wouldn't happen. So when I was notified irregularly that the bill was being signed, I went and I knocked on the door like I regularly would.
Counselor, you've spoken to the DA. I'm told that they would dismiss these charges, seeing it seems to be a little bit over 8 years for this. It's certainly not within the spirit of what this law is about. Georgia's Constitution says lawmakers shall be free from arrest, no matter the statute, during meetings of the General Assembly, except for treason, felony, or breach of the peace. What do you think is going to happen on the legal side?
Come over here.
I'm hopeful that the DA will review all the evidence we presented to her and dismiss the case. And you're correct, as the Georgia Constitution says. And none of the facts and circumstances in this case fit that Clark Cannon should have been arrested or shouldn't even charged. And so we're hopeful that the DA will apply the Constitution to this case and dismiss this case so that Clark can go back to serving her constituents and serving the people of Georgia the way she's done for the last 5 years.
It's always easy to ask people, Park, hey, would you do it again when things get sticky politically? But having been arrested and knowing that this is a little bit of a dicey proposition, you don't know which way the DA goes on this. Do you have any regrets about the situation?
That day, it was my intent to do my job, go home to my family, and come back the next day. But I do recognize this moment in politics because I have mentors. Congressman John Lewis took my hand, marched with me in 2016 to the Fulton County Government Center and spoke with me about why it was important to fight for the right to vote. Martin Luther King III, his family has sat with me and talked with me about these difficult times, but why it is so important that we keep knocking. So I look forward to being back at the state capitol when redistricting happens in just a few months. The same legislators who voted on this bill will draw our state's maps for 10 years, and I look forward for all of us being a part of that process.
Well, as you know, may rest in peace, Congressman Lewis would have called this good trouble. And he knew well the price that could carry it on, and what a legacy of pain he brought into a sense of purpose in the House. And I understand that being impressive to you as well. So I'll end on a political thought. Senator McConnell says corporations should stay out of politics, except for the donor. Are you worried that there's a message being given right now that what the Georgia House did with the move of removing the rebate for gas from Delta, that corporations may be told to shut up and may listen because it's bad for business?
I think it is so interesting that someone would be wanting to receive the privilege of privacy in this moment when they are taking away the voting rights of every single Georgian, Republican or Democrat. So I stand for corporate accountability. I look forward to hearing more about what my constituents think about Coca-Cola and Delta and the other organizations implicated in this moment. It's time to stand up, all of us. I reached out to these organizations when the bills were being introduced and discussed, and yet today we finally get action. So we're ready for this moment. Georgia is not afraid of this moment. We understand economic boycotts. We understand corporate accountability, and we understand protecting voting rights.
Representative Cannon, thank you for taking the opportunity. Heal and good luck going forward. Councilor Griggs, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
I get to help people through anything you can imagine.
I am here because I want to make things happen for our clients. I want to make sure what we're doing is aligned with their goals or timelines.
We're on the same team. They have their retirement goals or investment goals, and our goal is to help them get there.
My responsibility is to help people realize what's most important in their lives.
I think you drive to get us bed every morning because I know in one way or another I'm going to help somebody today.
Company, but now you're worse than a snake with a toothache. All he does is lie. Excuse me? Get all angry. You're hopeless. I mean that literally. You got no hope. But look at you. Look at this place. I've had better nightmares than this dream.
Love trees.
Darling Abigail.
That's why we protect forests by using homes certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use.
Yep, it is.
When forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy the go, but forests remain.
No.
Charmin.
Friends at Mr. Tortilla just made tacos home.
Good?
I think so.
CNN International is open to the world.
I'm Christian Alonso in Helsinki, Finland. I'm Becky Hamilton in Abu Dhabi.
I'm here in a remote part of southern India.
In the New York Stock Exchange, it's Elizabeth Birmingham, Puerto Rico.
Go international, anytime, anywhere, from selected devices. Stream it live now. CNN Go International.
I told you. No trouble. Sells a house right out of a book. Same as if it were a bicycle. Where are you? There's a fella by the train.
Late night premieres Sunday night, May 2nd at 9.
Just need a bit of peace and quiet from your excessive yapping. Charles, make it work.
Audi e-tron, the next frontier of electric.
Blinds.com makes it easy to get made-to-order custom blinds that will give you a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to do it yourself, want help with the design, or prefer measure and install services, they've got you covered. They keep it simple, and you'll love your new look. For 20 years, over 2 million customers have trusted Blinds.com to upgrade their homes.
Go to Blinds.com now to shop savings from home with easy online ordering, free shipping right to your door, and a guaranteed fit on your windows.
This is the play. From you Sunday at 9.
He's interviewed 5 U.S. presidents, authored 7 books, and has an independent voice that resonates.
What happened to when we were united against a common enemy?
He's raw, unique, and one of America's most important talk show hosts. Watch Smirconish, Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern. This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
You ain't catching me, bitches.
Yeah, I went too late, and I'm sorry. CNN Tonight is the big show, and here's the big star, Don Lemon.
What's up with that?
You know, I was talking to Park and Cannon, and I wanted to give her a chance to speak out about what was happening, and I screwed up the timing, and I apologize.
No, it's okay, because, you know, I had her last week. I think maybe you weren't here. But I had her last week, and 8 years or 8.5 years or whatever it is, you and I, you know, we've talked about this, consider and say, oh, there's no way the DA is going to do that. They're going to drop the case, but then
never know. And she talked about John Lewis, may he rest in peace. And Brother Lewis would have called this good trouble, but you know what? You know, he can say it with a smile. He could say it with a smile on his face. He paid the price of pain and prosecution, and that's a scary moment. Yes, the DA probably drops it. It would be a huge injustice.
Let's look at the actors. Let's look at the actors.
It's bad on
the door.
I know.
And the guys inside.
They arrested her.
Signing a bill.
But they still arrested her.
Beneath the picture of a slave plantation.
And then they arrested her. I'm just saying, listen, I'm with you. I'm with you. But I'm saying, they arrested her. They arrested her. I would have said, they'll never arrest her.
That's why she didn't speak sooner, Chris. Because we had been, you know, we've been trying to get her. She's, and her attorney, right? So we don't know where this case is going to go left.
I don't blame him. Yeah, he jumped in on a question tonight that I actually meant for the representative. I don't blame him. You know, because this goes away. And then that case remains.
We're doing all kinds of legal stuff. We got this. We got what's happening in Minneapolis. And we got Matt Gaetz. And, you know,
New York Times reported.
Yeah.
Joel Greenberg is the name that is going to loom large in this situation. Not Bob Kent, the man I had on last night.
Oh, it's going to be Joel.
You know, we don't know what happens with the extortion investigation. That has to do with the DOJ. It does not smell right.
Yeah.
But Joel Greenberg, why? Joel Greenberg has been indicted for exactly what they say.
And Matt Gaetz is a bigger name.
Oh, absolutely, but
he's good.
They were investigating him for the same things. That means nothing legally. But they absolutely know each other, and there is some strange coordination between the two of them. It doesn't have to mean anything specifically. It doesn't even have to be true. Joel Greenberg is in bad shape. He is a desperate man, and what do desperate men do?
They flip.
Desperate things.
They do. Let me tell you this, though. For all the people who are out there watching, and everyone who's saying, oh, this is just something that the Biden administration is doing because they're trying to get back. This started with the Trump DOJ.
And did you hear Trump come out and defend Gaetz today?
Yeah,
and say,
I heard it. It was silent.
Sounded like you in a check comes.
It sounded like this. What?
It's like you in the check comes.
No, my favorite is Matt Gaetz. What is it like? A coffee boy? I think he was. Like,
somebody's at the gate. Yeah. My pizza's here?
I gotta go. No, see? You can use that, Don. I know you're going. Right. I love you, Don Lemon. You too. I love you. I'll talk to you later. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon, and yes, Chris is right. We do have some breaking news. The New York Times reporting tonight that Congressman Matt Gaetz sought a blanket preemptive pardon for himself and his allies from the Trump White House. A spokesman for Gaetz has denied to the Times that his pardon request was related to the DOJ investigation of allegations involving sex trafficking and prostitution, including involving a minor. We have a whole lot more to come on this story tonight, so make sure you stay tuned. All the details coming in, including new reporting from a reporter who has followed his career
over a decade now. And we've also got new developments in the trial of the police officer who kneeled on George Floyd's neck for an excruciating 9.5 minutes. We can't unsee it. We all saw what happened. That police officer kneeling while George Floyd begged for his life, while he said, "I can't breathe," over and over and over, while he called out for his mother. While a black man was dying, with a white police officer pressing the life out of him. And today, his fellow officers aren't defending him. They're not. You could hardly find a police officer to defend George Floyd. There are a whole lot of people out there trying to make excuses about his past or whatever. Ask a police officer if there's a defense. See what they say. One after another, they took the stand today, testifying in the prosecution's murder case against Derek Chauvin, an officer who trains Minneapolis police in the use of force, who actually trained Chauvin, saying the ex-officer kneeling on George Floyd's neck was not what he was trained to do.
Sir, is this an MPD trained neck restraint?
No, sir.
Has never been.
Not the neck restraint, no, sir.
Is this a MPD authorized restraint technique?
Knee on the neck would be something that does happen in use of force that isn't unauthorized.
So if there was, say for example, the subject was under control and handcuffed, would this be authorized?
I would say no.
An expert witness, a Los Angeles police sergeant, who's reviewed thousands of use of force cases in his career, testified the force Chauvin used was excessive.
Initially, when Mr. Floyd was being placed in the backseat of the vehicle, he was actively resisting the officers. So at that point, the officers were justified in utilizing force to try to have him comply with their commands and to seat him in the backseat of the vehicle. However, once he was placed in the prone position on the ground, he slowly ceased his resistance, and at that point, the officers, ex-officers, I should say, they should have slowed down or stopped their force as well.
Look, these are expert witnesses. This is important stuff. Last week you had the emotion, right, from the eyewitnesses. This is the stuff that's going to make or break this case. Another officer, a medical response coordinator, and CPR instructor testifying police are supposed to give first aid when someone needs medical help. And she said being able to talk doesn't mean you can breathe adequately.
If you don't have a pulse on a person, you'll immediately start CPR. Just because they're speaking doesn't mean they're breathing adequately.
So this is another story that we're going to have a lot more to come on in this trial and what this all means to the jurors. That as the President of the United States, Joe Biden, is speaking out today about the assault on the vote in Georgia and praising corporations for taking a stand.
For-profit operations and businesses are speaking up about how these new Jim Crow laws are just antithetical to who we are. There's another side to it too. The other side to it too is when they in fact move out of Georgia, the people who need help the most, people who are making hourly wages, sometimes get hurt the most. The best way to deal with this is for Georgia and other states to...
Oh yeah, I remember this one.
Stop it. Stop it.
Well, I want you to remember this, that the law makes it a crime to give food or water to voters waiting in line. A crime. Corporations like Delta and Coca-Cola are taking sides against the law. Major League Baseball is moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta into Denver. But that is too much for Mitch McConnell. The hypocrisy, as it always seems to be, is off the charts here, and I'm going to explain, so make sure you sit down and watch. Okay? Facts first here. Mitch McConnell blasting corporations for taking a stand on voting rights. The same Mitch McConnell who, for years, has defended the First Amendment right of corporations to hand over millions of dollars in political spending. Remember Citizens United? But now Mitch McConnell says this.
I'm not talking.
The thing that amazes me is these people I mean, in back in the day in real life, are able to shoot while the horse is moving.
Legal, it's appropriate, I support
Amazing.
that. I'm talking about taking a position.
Standing still and shooting is hard enough, let alone a horse. And you hold the aim steady.
A community
Amazing.
or a state because you don't like a particular law that passed. I just think it's stupid.
It's stupid. Suddenly, corporations don't have First Amendment rights after all? Not when you disagree with them. Senator Tim Scott tweeting this misleading comparison of a vote in Georgia to the vote in Colorado and blaming, wait for it, the wokes for moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Again, facts first. Props to our fact-checker extraordinaire Daniel Dale, who points out Georgia's voting ID requirements are much stricter than Colorado's, not to mention the fact that Colorado mails every active registered voter a ballot. More than 90% of Coloradans voted by mail, even before the pandemic. Funny how facts are stubborn, funny things, aren't they? And Colorado allows voters to register on Election Day. So, don't blame the wokes, okay? The former president, you know, he'd get into the middle of this, didn't you? You knew he was going to do it. Putting out a statement complaining about woke cancel culture, in all caps, in case you might have missed it, and our sacred elections. And another calling for a boycott of baseball and what he calls all of the woke companies that are interfering with free and fair elections. Are you listening, Coke, Delta, and all? No. Cancel culture. Okay, again, you gotta watch this because this is from the king. Or as we say, the Kang. Where I'm from. Of cancel culture. Pretty rich for you-know-who to complain about Democrats calling for boycotts of companies that offend them. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Kang of cancel culture, who got it in another dig at Major League Baseball today. Here it is.
Well, I have, look, I'm just not very interested in baseball for the last number of years. I think it's not appropriate. You look, you want to find a game, it's on every channel, and yet you can't find anything. It's the weirdest thing. It used to be a nice, easy thing to follow. And you know what I mean by that. It was on one network, and it was nice and good and beautiful. Today, you don't even know what the hell you're watching. So I would say boycott baseball. Why not?
Never heard of ESPN, right? If you want to know, this word sports channel, baseball. Why not boycott MLB? The king of cancel culture can add that to his list, okay? Because there's Coke, there's Delta, there's Major League Baseball. But there's more from the king of cancel culture. There's Rolling Stone. There's HBO. I mean, there's too much. I can't even fit it on the screen, my face, if we get more. There's HBO, there's Apple, there's Macy's, Univision, Fox News, AT&T, the NFL, there's Harley-Davidson, there's Nike, Starbucks, Goodyear, Comcast, T-Mobile, Geico, Oreo, Mexico, the Wall Street Journal editorial board, NBC, even Glenfiddich Whiskey. That last one for praising a Scottish farmer who refused to sell his land to Trump. Who was canceled? Not by cancel culture, but by what? The voters. The hypocrisy and the doublespeak and the shiny objects and the lying continues. Know your facts, people. It's not cancel culture. Corporations are saying, this doesn't line up with our values. And now, the former party of family values, suddenly has a problem with values. Interesting. We have breaking news. The New York Times reported Congressman Matt Gaetz privately sought blanket preemptive pardons for himself and his allies during the final weeks of the Trump presidency. We're going to have the latest on that. That's next.
This is how you become the best.
Don't get mad. Get E-Trade.
He's interviewed 5 U.S. presidents, authored 7 books, and has an independent voice that resonates.
What happened to when we were united against a common enemy?
He's raw, unique, and one of America's most important talk show hosts. Watch Smirconish, Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern.
It's a matter of facts. I want to know how you're going to stop my loved ones from dying. That's just not the kind of leadership we need right now. How much more can Americans take?
CNN Tonight with Don Lemon, weeknights at 10.
That wrist. It allows me to have a much better ball flight. Try this out if you're a more advanced player next time you're at home.
So there's some major developments in the investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. The New York Times is reporting tonight that Gaetz tried to get a pardon from the outgoing president before he left office. The Times reports that Gaetz privately asked the White House for blanket preemptive pardons for himself and unidentified congressional allies for any crimes they may have committed. Spokesman for Gaetz denying the Times report, saying this, and I quote, entry-level political operatives have conflated a pardon call from Representative Gaetz, where he called for President Trump to pardon everyone from himself to his administration to Joe Exotic, with these false and increasingly bizarre partisan allegations against him. Those comments have been on the record for some time, and President Trump even retweeted the congressman who tweeted them out himself. Gates now even fundraising off of this scandal, now making a plea to his supporters for donations to fight back against what he calls a smear campaign. All that as a senior House GOP source tells CNN that Gates is unlikely to lose his spot on the House Judiciary Committee unless he is indicted. So let's discuss now. Mark Caputo is here. Mark Caputo is a senior political reporter for Politico Florida. Jennifer Rogers, a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Good to have both of you on. Good evening. Jennifer first. I want your reaction to the stunning New York Times report that Gates sought a blanket pardon from the former president during his final weeks in office. The White House lawyers reportedly saw it as a non-starter. But let's look. This is a clip from Gates, his appearance on Fox. This is November, and then we'll talk.
President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn. He should pardon the Thanksgiving turkey. He should pardon everyone from himself to his administration officials to Joe Exotic if he has to, because you see from the radical left a bloodlust that will only be quenched if they come after the people who worked so hard to animate the Trump administration with the policies and
what the damn Sadie
delivered for the American people. Yeah. So I think that the president ought to wield that pardon power effectively and robustly.
Oh boy. Okay, so the New York Times says that it's unclear if Gates or the White House knew about the DOJ inquiry, but how does it sound now, Jennifer?
I'll tell you how it sounds to a former prosecutor. It sounds like what we call consciousness of guilt. So the notion that he went to the former president to ask for a blanket preemptive pardon doesn't really go to the elements of the crimes that are reportedly being investigated. But if they end up at trial with Matt Gaetz in the defendant's chair, you better believe they're going to try to put in this evidence, because it demonstrates that at the time he went to former President Trump to ask for this, he knew that he had done something wrong, and he had legal liability, and he was seeking coverage.
Jennifer, I want to read from this reporting now. This is in recent days, some Trump associates have speculated that Mr. Gates' request for a group pardon was an attempt to camouflage his own potential criminal exposure. Is this something that investigators will be pursuing, do you think?
Well, I think that they will, just because it's out there. And listen, while you're investigating someone and talking to everyone about what they might know, certainly this is something they would explore. But, you know, it doesn't really go to the charges at issue, except to the extent that some of the people who know about this also know about those charges. But I expect that they would look into it. And, you know, again, if it's true that he was trying to get other people pardoned as well because they had involvement, then of course it's relevant. If it looks like he was trying to cover up for what he was doing, it's relevant at trial for that consciousness of guilt evidence.
Mark, you have known the Gates family. You've known Gates and his father for years. You have a new piece out. It's in Politico. It's on Gates, and you focus on his friendship with Joel Greenberg, a former Florida tax collector who faces serious charges, including sex trafficking a minor. What do you know about their friendship?
Well, they were sort of kind of two peas in a MAGA pod. Joel Greenberg, Seminole County tax collector that's in the Orlando area, who was elected to his office in 2016 at the same time that Gates, then a state legislator, had won his congressional office. They're both brash, unapologetic, populist MAGA Republicans, and they shared an interest in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And they also shared an interest in, I need to say this delicately, dating young women. Now, when I say young women, I'm talking about, maybe I'm dating myself here. I'm talking about women in their 20s. And, there's kind of an extensive record if you talk to associates, friends, acquaintances of the two men, where they'd frequently be seen out together. Greenberg, according to these friends or associates, kind of idolized Matt Gaetz, because Gaetz was this Fox personality, had the ear of the president, and was kind of a widely recognized figure in Republican politics. And he knew that Matt Gaetz liked the ladies. And Greenberg, according to them, met a lot of women on the Seeking Arrangements website and kind of brought them into the fold and supplied Matt with a bevy of dates. And this lasted for quite some time. But soon after getting into office, according to the 33-count federal indictment of Joel Greenberg, wide-ranging and pretty interesting reading. By May of 2017, he allegedly was having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old. Some of our reporting indicates that she might have gone on to become a pornography star currently. She's not commenting, or at least wasn't returning how much to comment. The investigation that grew out of the smear campaign that Joe Greenberg had launched against a rival, where he tried to accuse his rival of being a pedophile. And the feds eventually got the case and uncovered just a host of different crimes or alleged crimes that Greenberg apparently committed. And it was around this time that Gates started to distance himself from Greenberg. But when the investigators started to find that Greenberg was involved with a 17-year-old woman, allegedly, and they presumably saw messages between him and Gates concerning dating women, that's when the investigation, probably around August of 2020, began into Gates. And so, since that time, he's at least been a subject of investigation by Gates' own acknowledgement. Not a target, but a subject. I'm not a lawyer, but I can certainly tell you that you don't want to be a subject of a federal investigation. That's apparently what Gates is currently.
I'm going to put a blanket allegedly over all of that because, again, all of this has been alleged and it's all...
Well, yeah. The other thing is that we only have anonymous voices so far. We don't have any names.
And denials from the parties involved.
Right. So, I think it might be an important caveat. Even the New York Times report, I'm not throwing shade on it, but those are two anonymous MAGA, or better said, Trump White House officials, many of whom are known not to have liked Gates prior to all of this. And then we have these alleged dalliances that he had either or inappropriate relationship with a 17-year-old or paying for sex, both of which Gates denies. We have no names, we have no dates, we have no facts, so I'd like to see more of that. I think everyone will.
Okay, just so let me ask you this since we're on this. You say that there is in your reporting, there is a fundamental loneliness about Gates' political career, and that's why he turned so hard to Trump and Fox. Explain what you mean by that. Right.
Gates was a very effective state legislator when he was in the Florida legislature. Florida or legislatures do things, and it's kind of a shock to go from that to Congress, which, for a long time, regardless of who's in charge, doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot, relatively speaking. And soon after getting into Congress, Gates realized, it revolves around seniority. He was a freshman, and he didn't have a lot of power. And he saw that the way in which to exercise power was to be the president's #1 guy defending him on Fox. And he set about doing that. Now, in the process of doing that, Gates is very brash and he's caustic. And he gained a lot of enemies, not only among Democrats and progressives, but in his own party. Now, Donald Trump has been voted out of office. The Republicans in the House are in the lead. And as Gates has told other people, he's in the minority of the minority. He's been kind of looking for an exit way out, but now, he's a backbencher where a lot of the folks on the backbench don't really want him around them. And the complication he has now is he going to run for re-election where he was kind of keeping him not doing before? I would think yes, it's one of the things that allows him to still kind of exercise power and push back against these so far anonymous allegations that appear to be leaking out of DOJ, is to have a position of power, a political position of power, that is to have.
Well, I think it's interesting. He's going to be speaking at this Women's Summit at the Trump National Golf Club on Friday. Do you think he's going to do that? Is he going to keep that appearance?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think he's going to keep that appearance, and knowing Gates, he's probably going to make a joke about the whole situation. One of the things that he believed in doing, similar to Trump, is not backing away. He doesn't want his lawyers speaking for him because he thinks that makes him.
Okay. Because I want to move on to the next segment here, but anything that we need to add here, I don't want to get us in trouble, legally with all of this. As I said, a blanket allegedly and a denial from both parties here, but anything Mark said that stood out to you?
Well, I just think it's notable that Matt Gaetz, with all of these rumors swirling, and of course they're not officially charges yet, but he's just not doing himself any favors, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the reporting about his personality and what he does. He just jumps in and lashes out without really thinking through the consequences, and we'll have to see if that comes back to bite him in a legal way, but it certainly could.
Thank you both. I appreciate your time. So he says business should stay out of politics when it comes to commenting on laws that he likes. But when it comes to corporate money in his pocket, Senator Mitch McConnell says, that's fine. Stay with us.
All right then. Let's go buy some tools.
You've been dreaming of getting back to the beach. Tired
mind to make it real. Plan your getaway with Secrets Resorts and Spas and Apple Vacations. Visit applevacations.com.
At American Sail, we're known for having the best selection of pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and grills. Everything you need for your outdoor fun. More importantly, it's the quality of the products we sell, and our product experts can answer any of your questions. And right now, you can save up to 50%, and we'll pay your sales tax. Or get 0% financing and get our lowest price guaranteed. At American Sail, we're open, so come visit us or visit us online. American Sail, bring the fun home.
Did you know that your toughest
I'm rolling my eyes at you.
hard water metals?
No, dude. I do that for fun. I rob
9
trains.
elements. Its vinegar-powered deep clean dissolves hard water buildup and releases trapped residues and odors like detoxifying your clothes. Made with never more than 9 ingredients. 9 elements. More than a clean, a cleanse.
We made USAA insurance for busy veterans like Kate. So when her car got hit, she didn't waste any time. She filed a claim on her USAA app and said, that was easy. USAA, what you're made of, we're made for.
USAA. All right. I'll do just that.
Maybe I've done this kind of thing before, and maybe I can handle a weapon. But I'm not so different from you, partner.
I think you might be.
People wonder how you can handle it, living by your gun. But it's the same as any other occupation, really.
Hey, we're taking the next right up towards Manzanita Post.
I wasn't done saying. Home, I put my gun on the rack and it stays there. I mean it, it really stays there. I don't even think about it. My mind's on my wife and the little ones. I'm chopping wood, mending the roof, putting the kids to bed. But when I'm out here, I'm watching the tree line. I got my gun at the ready. And I'm trying to make my employer as comfortable as possible.
That's, real good of you.
You're in good hands. I know this country well.
Good. Am I finally gonna meet this tool maker?
Now, Niels, he's an acquired taste, but boy, can he work metal. Norwegian, you see? Viking blood. Fellas up there used to worship a god with a hammer. Guess I figures they
Thor.
should be making them. I'm not sure how
I got a horse named Thor.
Niels knows tools. This is the spot, just up ahead.
Okay.
You boys wait here. After you, Mr. Milton. Let me do the talking. There he is, working away.
Arthur whooped his ass earlier.
Nels. Nels, it's me. Willard Wayne. Okay. This is my associate, Jim Milton. Okay. He heard you was the best. Best smith around. He needs some tools. He's building a ranch house up at Beecher's Hope.
Beecher's Hope, okay.
Have you got any made?
Okay.
Like I said,
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell on the attack against businesses, telling them to stay out of politics. His warning coming as companies take a stand against Georgia's new law that restricts voting access. McConnell's comments flying in the face of the years that he has spent supporting corporate involvement in politics. While he claims it's stupid for companies to jump into highly controversial issues, he says corporate donations are still fine. Fine. Let's discuss now. Senior Political Director David Challing is here, and Senior Political Commentator Amanda Carpenter as well. Good evening to both. David, I want to talk about Mitch McConnell. The hypocrisy is astounding. There hasn't been a bigger supporter of corporate money in politics, and yet now he is basically saying that he's okay with their money, but not their opinions.
Yeah, when you say he has been touting
roles, the proper role for corporations that it is to give money for years, it's decades. I mean, this is actually one of Mitch McConnell's hobby horses in his time in public service, saying that corporate money equals free speech and they should be able to do it freely. He fought hard against, going in the Wayback Machine here, the McCain-Feingold campaign, finance reform efforts, and others. So to hear him try and separate out donations are one thing, but they really shouldn't express opinions on the issues of the day that may be dividing the parties. That to me seems like a whole new definition of what political participation can be.
Amanda, the GOP is railing now against cancel culture at every turn, yet there's McConnell telling businesses what to do. Trump's calling for a boycott of woke companies, and MLB, he's in there, they're guilty of, I mean, listen, he's guilty of what he's accusing the MLB of doing, because he has asked, the MLB is actually the one who decided to take the game out. It wasn't Democrats. Stacey Abrams and others did not want the All-Star game taken out of Atlanta.
Yeah, this is all about vengeance and grievance. I think it's useful to just rewind a little bit and think about why we are here. We are here in this political situation because of the election lies that Donald Trump peddled and people like Mitch McConnell enabled to try to win races in Georgia. We are here because of the Capitol insurrection. We are here because of the restrictionist voting laws that Republicans have been pushing across the nation, not in Georgia. And so when Mitch McConnell surveys these events, he's decided that he's the victim, and a lot of other Republicans have, because they don't like the fact that Joe Biden and others accuse them of embracing Jim Crow policies. Now, I think that's a heavy charge. I think Joe Biden should be asked to explain why he makes that comparison. But if you put that aside, and if you want to talk about Mitch McConnell, he's always been a highly partisan transactional figure. What has changed in this post-Trump era is that Republicans have dropped all pretense of free market economics and competition and are all in on the bullying and the culture wars. And so that is where Mitch McConnell is positioning himself, and it may be bluster. We will see, but that is the state of play at this moment.
David, a similar question. Republicans love blaming President Biden and the Democrats for cancel culture, but these companies are moving on their own, right? Senator Warnock, Stacey Abrams, as I just mentioned, they didn't even want a boycott.
Yeah, that's an important note, Don, and you played earlier in the show, President Biden sort of expressed that both sides of this, that it is not just an easy thing to say, hey, go ahead and boycott. It hurts some of the very people that they're actually trying to protect with voting rights in these battles. And Joe Biden acknowledged that. He said he would indeed support the decisions that these companies and organizations are making on their own, whatever those decisions are. But he understood the other side of the coin of this. As you note, this is why Stacey Abrams has been reluctant to sort of go full bore and call for these boycotts.
And then there's more than 360 bills across the country that would make it harder to vote. Well, what's happening in Georgia have an impact in other states pushing these bills, you think?
I think it will. I mean, everyone's watching this, and it gets extremely messy because, as we learned and we know, all the states administer their own election law. And so what I've been talking with people about is just trying to encourage people to advocate for whatever the gold standard is in voting rights policies. Because you look at a state like Georgia, what they're pushing, and then Republicans get upset. Why are you saying about Georgia when New York has more restrictive laws? And so maybe there's a landing place for these corporations who are ready to wield some influence to say, hey, these are the 5 things we're looking for. Automatic voter registration, early voting, no excuse absentee, to guarantee access. That is where I'm looking to find a sweet spot that might solve this problem, because otherwise it's going to be a food fight. It's going to be a nasty fight all the way through the next midterm election, and I pray not the next presidential one.
Oh, well, don't get your hopes up, Amanda.
I know.
Right. David, listen, the president and Democrats moving ahead with a $2 trillion infrastructure plan. Is McConnell being outmaneuvered right now?
Well, listen, McConnell is now in the role of minority leader, right? So Chuck Schumer is finding a path with the Senate rules to try and see if there is way to get Biden's agenda, this infrastructure bill and others that may follow, through the Senate with Democratic only votes, if Mitch McConnell continues to make clear that Republicans want to play this playbook that is just a wall of opposition to the Biden agenda. I don't know that he's getting outmaneuvered yet. Just getting your game plan in place for Chuck Schumer does not mean he has the votes yet. There are miles to go in this battle for this infrastructure bill.
David, Amanda, thank you both. I appreciate it. Expert after expert testifying Derek Chauvin used excessive force against George Floyd. Our own experts weigh in next. The former police captain in charge of the Ferguson riots, right after this.
This is how you become the best.
Don't get mad. Get E-Trade.
John Cena and Nicole Byer host. All new episodes of Wipeout Thursdays at 9 on TBS.
At Charmin, we make paper, but we love trees. That's why we protect forests by using pulp certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use. And it's why, when forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy to go, but forests remain forests. Charmin.
Was all-wheel drive engaged on that? Didn't feel like it.
Quattro all-wheel drive. There's nothing like it in the universe.
It's the passion for me doing it wrong. It's the passion for me doing it wrong. All right. Baby, you and I should start living now.
Help your neighbors in need with Feeding America.
Life is sometimes hard. Sometimes we don't have as much. The food bank is a place where my family gets help getting food.
Some companies still have HR stuck between employees and their data. Entering data, changing data, more and more sensitive personal data. And it doesn't just drag HR down, it drags the entire business down with inefficiency, errors, and waste. It's ridiculous. With Paycom, employees enter and manage their own data in a single, easy-to-use software. Visit paycom.com and schedule your demo today.
It's time for a new season of United Shades of America. And you know we got a lot to talk about. A new season of United Shades of America with me, W. Kamau Bell, premieres May 2nd at 10 on CNN.
Get us back to Beatrice. Knows for the Skinner brothers. I told you I was worried. Sadie said something too. What kind of land have I bought? It's not the land. The Skinners move around. They're here for now. I thought this kind of bloodshed was meant to be over. What was all the nonsense about civilization? This kind of bloodshed is different. Folks have been killed, sure. For good reason and bad. But rarely just for the fun of it. That was fun for them? No, not that time. Most folk don't usually put up with such a fight. Then I hope we put an end to it. There was a caravan a few months back. Massacre. Uncle! Uncle!
So So it's the 8th day of testimony in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. It gets underway tomorrow, the 8th day, I should say. That after witnesses testified today that Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's neck is not an approved restraint tactic.
Be careful. Oh, I will. But I'm fairly sure we scared him off for now. Bad business. Well, we'll be safe together. Sure. If you say so.
And John, I love you. Don't you forget that.
Bitch, please, bitch, please.
I'm still waiting to see the testimony of the officer from LAPD, but he seems to be very knowledgeable.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The LAPD use of force expert described Chauvin's force against George Floyd as excessive. The Minneapolis PD use of force instructor said that Chauvin's neck restraint would not be an authorized use of force. Given what we're hearing, do you believe Derek Chauvin followed his training, sir?
No, I don't. I think initially, and I think we've heard that from different witnesses, initially there may have been a cause, there was a cause to for use of force. But then there came a point where there wasn't, and where there was compliance, and there should have been de-escalation and also lesser use of force in that situation that we've saw played out on TV.
At times, the witnesses did contradict each other. Watch this.
Have you ever been trained or trained others to say maybe some person?
And true. My brain. Which is broad.
The prosecutor runs with too many trainers to talk about the same issue. I think the chief talked about it. I think he brought some in earlier. I think when you start bringing in too many people on the same subject, you're going to run into that possibility of them conflict.
No problem.
I want you to listen to this particular line of questioning from the defense. He's returning to one of his key arguments, blaming the crowd as a distraction for Chauvin. Watch this.
Does it make it more difficult to assess a patient?
It does.
Does it make it more likely that you may miss signs that a patient is experiencing something?
Yes.
And so
time to build a house, baby.
Can actually harm the potential care of the patient.
Yes.
So I'm curious what you think of that exchange, but I want to put it into context. The crowd in front of Cup Foods was pleading with the officers to check George Floyd's pulse and get off of his neck.
I think you're absolutely right. I think an angry crowd would distract, but that crowd was not an angry crowd. And I think if that crowd had saw the officers giving Mr. Floyd medical attention, I think we would have seen even a calmer crowd. And so when we look at the officers that were on the scene, there was one officer interacting with the crowd. And I've been in front of unruly crowds, and you've been on the phone with unruly crowds. And that crowd would definitely fit the definition of an unruly crowd.
The defense got use of force instructor Johnny Mercer to acknowledge that when paramedics arrived, it appears that Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's shoulder since they were able to take a pulse. Does that matter to you? Would that negate all of the other minutes of Chauvin's knee was on?
No, we're not. 9 minutes and 29 seconds that his knees were on his neck. So moving it at the last minute on one paramedic really didn't change what happened.
The reason why Chauvin didn't render any medical aid, because that's what they said in his training. He was taught that he's supposed to administer medical aid.
No, I'm not. You know, one of the officers said that he didn't feel a pulse for 3 minutes. And so right there was a signal that there should have been some medical aid given, and long before that. But we know there's 3 minutes where an officer said there was no pulse. And Officer Chauvin heard that.
Captain Johnson, it's always a pleasure having you. Thank you for appearing. We'll see you soon. Be well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. A 65-year-old Asian woman attacked, but no one around did anything to stop her. And take this. Now there are consequences.
Thank you for taking me. It's so fun. This will be fun. Chocolate milkshake, please. Take it, please.
Some relationships get better with time. That's why I got a Crosstrek.
97% of Subaru vehicles sold in the last 10 years are still.
So glad you got a Subaru. I wonder who gave me the idea.
Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Excuse me, ma'am. Did you know that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need?
Thank you.
Hey, no need. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Everything.
So do you driving case on that?
I know.
I feel like it.
Quattro all-wheel drive. There's nothing like it for the universe.
Gentlemen, to this happy home. At least till this fool gets his woman back. My darling Abigail, I hope you and Jack are doing well. I remain a fool, and I'm sure I shall die a fool. But I'm trying very hard to be something like the man you deserve. I have done something very silly in an effort to impress you. And that is, I've purchased a home. The land you read about in the newspaper up at Beecher's Hope is now ours, and we are going to try our hand at ranching. Mr. Geddes kindly helped me buy the land. I met Uncle while I was coming out of the bank, and while I know your feelings about him, he has been enormously helpful in his own fashion. Charles Smith has also appeared and is unsurprisingly a pillar of strength. Together, we've built you a home. I hope soon to show it to you. I miss you and the boy more than I can express. Please, come back to me. Yours always, John.
Sucker.
Uncle, I thought you was... Where the hell? Me again.
Take this. 2 New York City doormen fired after they closed the doors to their building's lobby while a 65-year-old Asian woman was punched and kicked outside. So here's a video of last week's attack. The woman was on her way to church when she was beaten just beyond the door of the Midtown Manhattan apartment building. And the staff inside the building see it, and what do? They close that door. So here they go, standing outside. and they close the door. So later on, the doorman opened the door, and doormen open the door, and they go outside. The building's owner saying that they flagged down an NYPD vehicle, but required emergency and safety protocols were not followed. A group of the building's residents have defended the staff's action, saying that the doormen acted to secure the building by closing the front door. They commended them for their response in rendering aid to the victim and alerting medics. The union representing the doormen saying that they have initiated the process to challenge the termination, adding, "We take anti-agent hatred and all forms of discrimination seriously. The attacker has been arrested and is facing charges of assault as a hate crime. He allegedly made anti-agent statements toward the women." The attack, one of many recent anti-Asian crimes, a growing trend all across this country. In New York, for example, the NYPD recording 31 anti-Asian hate crimes so far this year. That number, the same time last year, 0. Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz facing a sex trafficking investigation, and tonight, the New York Times reports he wanted a blanket pardon from Trump just a few months ago. Stay with us.
Ideas want to be set free, to make the world even more incredible. Ideas start the future.
At Charmin, we make paper, but we love trees. That's why we protect forests by using pulp certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use. And it's why, when forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy the go, but forests remain forests. Charmin.
I love glass.
He was always stealing mine, so we decided to create our own collection.
And when you make your own, you gotta keep them all.
We're going to a bigger house.
Ooh, looking good. Give me those.
We'll make more.
We made USAA insurance for veterans like Martin. When a hailstorm hit, he needed his insurance to get it done right away. USAA. What you're made of, we're made for.
Millions of Americans are skipping the rinse and saving up to 20 gallons of water each time.
I'm doing more dishes than ever, but thanks to Finish Quantum, I can skip the rinse, and it works. I used to do rinse because my mom did. Now I just scrape them up.
Even when I bake lasagna, I skip the rinse and my dishes always come out clean. Finish Quantum is designed to work without pre-rinsing, so you get dishes so clean they shine and save up to 20 gallons per load. Join millions of Americans that skip the rinse to save our water.
Rose Namajunas lost her first title fight. Right then and there, she made a decision to start believing she would become a champion. Guaranteed Rate is a mortgage lender who understands the power of belief. Because if you believe, you will.
I'm sorry, of course, it's my wife, Jerry. You see, she's it's great seeing you again, Al.
Yeah,
and you,
it's
sir.
a pleasure as always. Great pleasure. Love your work.
Of course.
How are we gonna pay for this?
Same way we pay for everything.
I just wish I could help you, sir. You've been a good customer. I like it, and David Jed is like you. Now, this man is very annoying.
Can you just give me a few days?
At CNN, we see the devastation caused by natural disasters, famine, and war. We also see how the generosity of others can change lives. You and CNN's Impact Your World can help. Reputable charities that are checked out by CNN. See the difference it makes when you give time, share stories, or donate by just clicking the button. Be a part of the solution. Impact Your World.
A bunch of money. My debt's climbing.
Burnett, Cooper, Cuomo, Levin. The best primetime lineup is only on CNN.
We need to know who's telling us the truth in power.
Weeknights starting at 7. This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
Tell the bank there's money coming in. And get a crew to help with that barn.
I have it on good authority we can find this bounty at Painted Sky.
I know the place.
Okay, I'll follow you. sky tip is pretty fresh, but I don't know how long it'll stay that way. No more of that, okay?
You slow, bro.
Anyway, you carry on.
An encyclopedia salesman was up there on the property. Couldn't find the rancher, but saw a Mexican-looking feller hanging around. Now,
There's new developments tonight on the embattled Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, who's under investigation now by the Justice Department over allegations of sex trafficking and prostitution. The New York Times is reporting that Gaetz asked the Trump White House in its final days for a preemptive blanket pardon for himself and by congressional allies. Also tonight, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell slamming American corporations for taking a public stand against Georgia's restrictive new voting law, but saying it's fine for companies to still make political contributions. President Biden, who has been highly critical of laws restricting ballot access, applauding businesses for speaking out and taking action.
It's reassuring to see that for-profit operations and businesses are speaking up about how these new Jim Crow laws are just antithetical to who we are. The best way to deal with this is for Georgia and other states to smarten up. Stop it. Stop it.
And at the murder trial of ex-police officer Derek Chauvin, a Minneapolis police training instructor, testifying that Chauvin putting his knee on George Floyd's neck is not a restraining tactic taught by the department. I want to turn now to the new reporting on Congressman Matt Gaetz. Joining me now, CNN's senior political analyst, Mr. John Avlon. John, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Let's get into this. I want to get your reaction to this New York Times report that Congressman Matt Gaetz asked the Trump White House for a blanket pardon for himself and congressional allies for any crimes that may have committed. It's unclear if Gaetz knew he was under investigation at the time. It's a new development in this story tonight.
It sure is. I mean, again, part of the problems with a preemptive blanket pardon is that usually the person who asks for it is afraid they've done something wrong. Now, to their credit, the Trump White House has been that request, but let's not forget the crucial bit of evidence here, or information, that completely destroys any claims of a political witch hunt. The investigation that Gaetz is apparently wrapped up in began under the Trump DOJ. Don't forget that. It's basic. So this new bit of information from the Times is important. It indicates that perhaps something was on his mind, because people who ask for blanket preemptive pardons usually got something that's eating them.
All right, let's talk about these voting laws, okay? Because now there's push to make voting harder here. President Biden is telling states like Georgia to stop it. You heard him in the soundbite. Just stop it.
Funny as hell.
He knows that these voter suppression laws, they know it's suppressing the vote here. And are they winning now? Is this fight only going to escalate?
I think Republicans are on the back foot. Look, these efforts are being pushed in states across the country by the GOP, and make no mistake, they are being pushed because and in reaction to Trump's big lie. And the basic standard should be, do they make it easier or harder to vote? And in America, we should be making it easier to vote. And for all the specifics, and folks can raise issues about what actually went down in the Georgia bill, by basically creating the ability for partisans to take control of the voting apparatus, that's in no way consistent with the American ideals here. So corporations backing the Democrats' position, albeit belatedly, Democrats got some wind at their sails, but Republicans are going to still make these efforts in the states. This is not going away anytime soon. This is one of the defining fights of our time.
Yeah, it certainly is. You're right about that. I want to bring in now contributing writer to The Atlantic, Jamel Hill. She's here with us now. Jamel, welcome. Let's talk about this more. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is slamming corporations for coming out against Georgia's new voting restrictions. This is what he said today.
My warning, if you will, to corporate America is to stay out of politics. It's not what you were designed for. Republicans buy stock.
He just tried to kill me.
And fly on plane. And drink Coca-Cola, too. So what I'm saying here is I think this is quite stupid. To jump in the middle of a highly controversial issue.
Let's go for a
So,
ride.
so this is coming from a man who spent years raising massive amounts of money from corporations in the name of free speech. This is rich.
And yeah, it's rich, it's hypocritical, and he just basically gave them the corporate version of shut up and dribble. You're fine to contribute as much money as possible to their campaigns, but shut up and don't actually worry about where your money is going, or for that matter, what it's being used for. And we shouldn't really be surprised. I mean, Mitch McConnell has been somebody who has stood in the way of democracy for his entire political career. He's one of the worst politicians this country has ever seen. And so for him to, after he said all that, to say, oh, but keep donating, though, it's like,
I'm gonna need to clean my guns, homie. Cause I know
it's not just McConnell. I mean,
it's about to be live.
The MLB's decision to move the All-Star game from Georgia to Colorado. Do you think this is going to make other corporations think twice about taking a stand now?
No, because they don't really have a leg to stand on. Because listen, the reality is, like, they need corporate contributions, and we saw many corporations after the insurrection decide to shut off that money supply to them. And they don't want to be the enemy of the corporate community, because at the end of the day, they need the corporate community. And so rather than being on the right side of history, the Republicans have just chosen, to me, a no-win situation, and something that's going to make their party extinct a lot faster. I said this repeatedly, and it bears repeating every time I have a microphone and a platform. Rather than come up with a way to compete for votes, to create a new vision, the Republicans would rather restrict people from voting. And to me, that's never going to be a winning strategy. It's like, if your ideas are so much better, prove it. Why is your entire strategy built on not just a lie, but built on restriction? If you really think that you have the future of this country in mind, create a vision, actually compete for votes, appeal to people. I know it's an outdated concept, but the reality is that conservatives have no platform, they have no position. All they have is outrage at things like the Lil Nas X video and Dr. Seuss. That's all they got.
Look, you're totally right about the council culture distraction move here, but I think the problem is McConnell's...
Hold on, John, before you get to that, I'm going to let you finish, John. This is not cancel culture, because the Democrats didn't want the MLB to take this game away from Atlanta. Stacey Abrams and Senator Warnock both said, don't do it. It was the corporation saying, this is inconsistent with our beliefs. It's the same thing with Dr. Seuss. It was the company and the family behind Dr. Seuss who removed the books. It wasn't Democrats or Joe Biden, even though Republicans are trying to make this a Joe Biden thing, that he's the one canceling, or somehow Democrats are the ones canceling MLB and Dr. Seuss. Go on, John. Sorry.
No, but that's an important point, right? A lot of this is just the Outrage Olympics is a distraction play by Republicans to try to keep folks' eyes off the ball about underlying policy. And we can have great debates. The reason that
was it Sean?
On an issue is that
I think it was Sean.
Policy anymore. This is about, do you believe in democracy and make it easier or harder to folks to vote? We can say that McConnell believed all these years that corporations should play a greater role in politics. He put his name on an FEC complaint that went to the Supreme Court to get corporations to spend more money. But the problem with this is where we are because of the big lie. This is not a basic debate about whether you think money is speech. This is about whether you believe democracy should be open or closed. And that's
hello, Sadie. What the fuck you talking about?
Listening to their constituents, their employees, their customers, and taking a stand, belatedly in some cases, but taking a stand. And that's why this is different than a political debate in the past.
John, Janelle, we love having you. Thank you so much. Good to see you next time. I wanted to bring in now Democratic Senator John Hickenlooper of Colorado. Senator, good to see you as well. Thank you so much. So let's talk about
Nice to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. The Minority Leader Mitch McConnell calling corporations stupid for getting involved in voting rights. Is he just upset that they aren't on board with the false voter fraud claims and voter suppression agenda of the GOP?
I don't think I can speak to Senator McConnell's motives, but I can tell you that this is not a partisan issue. As you guys were just saying, this is all about democracy and whether you believe in democracy. And I think most of the businesses in America, when given the opportunity, will stand up and say that they are for more people voting. You know, when we switch over to all mail ballots in 2013, that next year in 2014, we had the highest turnout ever. We had
no incidents of fraudulent voting in any way. We had a statistically accurate assessment done, and at the same time, Cory Gardner, my predecessor, got elected to the U.S. Senate. This last primary, we had slightly larger percentage of Republicans voted in the primary than did Democrats. This isn't partisan. It's about trying to make it easier to vote and thereby encouraging more people to pay attention, get involved in the issues, and vote.
I'm glad you said that because Senator Tim Scott was comparing Colorado to Georgia. What did you think of that comparison?
Well, I've seen it. I didn't hear him, but I've seen it on paper. It doesn't hold up. I mean, the bottom line is we send everybody a paper ballot. Now, we don't have as many days of early voting because almost everybody, over 95% of our voters, vote by mail because they've gotten into the rhythm of it, the pattern of it.
Before COVID. This is before COVID.
This is before COVID. So, and the fact when
what
COVID
the hell?
we already had a safe way to vote.
I keep losing that shit,
somehow their system is comparable to what Colorado has. In Georgia, they have one lockbox for every 100,000 voters. In Colorado, I think it's every 6,000 or every 8,000 voters. So there are many more places where you can drop off your ballots and know that they're going to get counted. The systems are very, very different.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's happening now with the MLB. Republicans are slamming the MLB's decision, claiming that your state's voting laws are more restrictive, again, than Georgia's, as we talked about. But this is what our fact checker found out. To get more specific about what you said, Daniel Dell says that it is highly dishonest, and that I wanted to know what your reaction is to the GOP pushing.
Oh my goodness! Hold up, people. Hold up. Oh, there they are. Funny as hell.
Easter brunch and friends were giving the same argument, but it is based on the wrong facts. The key is what we try to do in Colorado is get more people to vote every election. What people forget is that Colorado's system was created by Republican and Democratic county clerks working together. The majority were Republicans, and they had a shared vision that they wanted more people to vote. They wanted to someday get to 100% voting. That's the vision. Isn't that what this democracy should be based on?
There is this massive voting rights issue going on across this country, but now the president is focusing on infrastructure instead. Is that the right focus? Is that a mistake? Is he right?
Well, certainly right now people are going to be talking about voting for a while. But I think infrastructure is exactly the right next step. This is, people have been talking about Franklin Roosevelt and the Great Depression. It's really, it's more similar to the years after World War II, where this country invested in infrastructure at every level and made investments over the next 12 or 15 years that paid dividends for the citizens of this country for 50, 60, 70 years. And we can do that again, and we have to do that again. The world's changing. We've got to re-energize our economy and our ability to compete on the world stage.
Senator, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon. Be safe, all right?
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. America is watching the trial of the ex-police officer charged with the murder of George Floyd for kneeling on his neck for 9.5 minutes. But there may be nobody watching more closely than the people in the neighborhood. We're going to hear from them coming up.
After we get the verdict and we get this conviction, we'll be able to breathe.
Did you know that your toughest cleaning problems can be caused by hard water metals? They lock in residues like a glue on your hard surfaces and fabrics. Try 9 Elements. Its vinegar-powered deep clean dissolves hard water buildup and releases trapped residues and odors like detoxifying your clothes. Made with never more than 9 ingredients. 9 Elements. More than a clean, a cleanse.
At Charmin,
Dynamite too? Oh yeah, oh yeah.
We love trees. That's why we protect forests by using pulp certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use. And it's why, when forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy the go, but forests remain forests. Sharman.
Ever since Daryl's family started using Gain Flings, their laundry smells more amazing than ever.
Honey? Isn't that the dog's towel?
And you're about to have some bad luck with getting punched in the
Hey,
face.
me towel, sweet towel. There's more Gain scent plus Oxy Boost and Febreze odor remover in every plane. Gain. Seriously good scent. Love the scent of Gain Flings? Then you'll swoon for long-lasting Gain scent beads.
Who is USAA made for? It's made for him, the veteran who honorably served. And it's made for her. She's serving now. We also make USAA for military spouses and their kids. Become a member. Get an insurance quote today.
Rose Namajunas lost her first title fight. Right then and there, she made a decision to start believing she would become a champion. Guaranteed Rate is a mortgage lender who understands the power of belief. Because if you believe, you will. If the past is gone, do it wrong.
Each year, Americans waste $21 billion by overpaying on car insurance. That's why I went to thezebra.com. Because while every company claims to save you money on car insurance, the Zebra shows you who actually can. You can easily compare quotes from top providers all at once. With the Zebra, you can save up to $375 a year. No fees and no spammy phone calls. Because who needs that?
See what you can save. Compare car insurance for free at thezebra.com.
Hold up. Down there. Fire. I'd wager that's them. Stay on the road. Let's find a good vantage point. Up here. Come on. I think there's an old water mill by the creek bed. There it is. Keep some distance. We need to take a good look at them before we do anything. Let's go up.
Nearly a year after George Floyd's death, the pain and sorrow of what happened to him still raw in the Minneapolis community where he died. Residents closely watching Derek Chauvin's murder trial. Some saying it's painful to hear the testimony, but they have to be witness to the trial because George Floyd is now a part of their community forever. Here's CNN Sarah Site.
Few are watching the trial more closely than the folks in the neighborhood where George Floyd took his last breaths.
Everybody that comes in takes a look at the trial.
Inside Cup Foods, the place where Floyd allegedly paid for cigarettes with a counterfeit $20 bill, every day the television is set to the trial of the former officer accused of killing him.
It's sad. It's so sad, and it's really sad to watch it in the raw.
Minneapolis resident Tracy Cowers came in for her breakfast with her dog, Adore. Cowers reveals what everyone around here already knows. The strongest of emotions are just under the surface here. One scratch, this time in the form of a question, and sorrow flows out.
How hard is it to watch this trial? It's mind-boggling how somebody is here to serve and protect, and they're the very ones who aren't. Not all.
She says she can't look away even though it hurts to watch. Why are you happy? Why are you happy? The store owners say they have received both love and hate, especially after their former cashier testified he was the one who took the alleged fake bill from Floyd.
The policy is that if you took a counterfeit bill, you have to pay for it out of your money or your paycheck.
Christopher Martin, a teenager, tried rectifying it with Floyd. That didn't work, and police were called. Martin now regrets that.
If I would have just not taken the bill, this could have been avoided.
The store owner, Mahmoud Abu Mayala, says the store has received dozens of fake bills over time.
When employees do take counterfeit bills, part of our training, we tell them that we're going to be responsible to pay for it. Just as a deterrent, we never need an employee pay for a counterfeit bill.
The store has also received threats. But most people are sending support via stacks of mail to Christopher Martin and phone calls from all over the country.
I just thought I would make a call to you to see if there was something we could do.
We happened to be there during one of those calls.
We've obviously done a wonderful job in raising you, and this is what we need to do in society.
Outside the Cut Food store, there is not just a memorial to George Floyd anymore. It's more of a community center. There is community gatherings that happen at the former gas station, and there's a community garden that all of the people help plant and take care of. On any given day, Jay Webb, a former professional basketball player, is in the square planting hope and beauty. Feet away, Floyd took his last breaths last year. Then, in March this year, another man's body lay dying outside the store. He was shot and killed by a resident. Neighbors, business owners, and activists are battling back violence and arguing over the barriers that have closed off the streets to traffic to the square for nearly a year now. But there is still love and light being shared here.
This is our response. Do your worst, and we'll do our best. This is every direction.
Stupid.
Peace and love.
Well done, Sarah. Well done. You really brought the community home here. You have been in Minneapolis since it started, throughout this trial. Has any particular testimony really resonated with the folks here?
Absolutely. In talking to folks about what they've been watching, and look, it's hard for anyone to watch that video over and over again, and not just the bystander video that we are all familiar with, but all of the body camera videos that were worn by each of the officers. Some of that was new to the public. The thing that they remember, though, is interesting. They remember Charles McMillan, and I know you remember him as well. He was that guy that everybody knows in the neighborhood who stopped and had a nosy guy. He said it himself, and he joked about it. But he was remembered because he's 61 years old. They know him in the neighborhood, and to see that man break down the way he did, sobbing on the stand, really resonated with people. They understood how he felt and what he went through, because they too are from the neighborhood, and they too felt like they themselves had been attacked. And then Christopher Martin, the young man, the teenager, who said he felt guilty. He felt guilty about doing his job, and he did what he was asked to do. When he asked George Floyd about that attempt to hand over an alleged counterfeit bill, and then going and talking to him, and then trying to just do his job, and then being upset that eventually, he told his manager, who eventually then got someone else to call police, he felt like it was his fault in some way. And people felt really strongly about that he shouldn't feel that way, and he shouldn't be left with that guilt. And interestingly, the last person that was mentioned a lot was Lieutenant Zimmerman, the most senior member of the Minneapolis Police Department, who's been there 35 years, and who was unequivocal about what he thought he saw that day in seeing that video of his colleague, which you don't often hear police officers criticizing their colleague, but in seeing that video of Derek Chauvin and saying, that's not how it's done. That's not the way we do this. That it was wrong what he did. That really struck people. I asked someone about what they thought about the police chief. You know, what they thought about Madera Arredondo getting up on the stand as the chief and saying that is not our policy, it is not our ethics. And you know what they said? And this is what I found really interesting. The 2 or 3 people who responded to me when I asked them that, they said, it wasn't surprising to us because we know that guy. We know that chief. Yeah. He's our chief, as they put it. He is the community chief. So to them, they sort of expected him to come forward and say what he thought and tell the truth from his perspective. But it was the other officers and some of the witnesses that really had an impact on the people there. Don?
Sarah, thanks for bringing us to the neighborhood and helping us to understand the community there. We really appreciate it. Sarah Seidman. Day 7 of testimony in the Chauvin trial there in Minneapolis, and we've got the biggest moments for you. That's next. Plus, 95% white and 85% male. We're digging into who stormed the Capitol. That's ahead.
You've been dreaming of getting back to the beach. The sand between your toes. The ocean stretching as far as you can see. Time to make it real. Plan your getaway with Secrets Resorts and Spas and Apple Vacations. Exceptional value, personalized service, and a one-stop vacation shop. That's why we're America's favorite vacation company. Savings up to 40% at Secrets Resorts and Spas. See where you can go at applevacations.com.
I think it's exciting, honestly, that some of the science is coming out and saying that you can feed beef earlier to kids. They can actually start eating beef a lot earlier than you think. Juju has been eating beef since 7 months old, I think.
Right around 6 months, 5, 6 months.
At first it was just ground beef and purees, and now he loves steak.
At Charmin, we make paper, but we love trees. That's why we protect forests by using pulp certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. It's why we regrow at least 2 trees for every tree we use. And it's why, when forests are devastated by natural disasters, Charmin helps restore trees through the Arbor Day Foundation. So you can enjoy the go, but forests remain forests. Charmin.
Who is USAA made for? It's made for him, a veteran who honorably served. And it's made for her. She's serving now. USAA for military spouses and their kids. Become a member. Get an insurance quote today.
I like the fight, Ramon. The fighting and the killing. The sheriff better move him quick this time.
Big mistake. Real big mistake. I'll see you again.
We got him, Sheriff. We got him.
I knew you'd be back, Ramon. You just can't get enough of me. Put him in the wagon for me, would you?
How's the jail?
Needs to get fixed up since this nice man blew a hole in it. Me and the boys will ride him to Saint Denis right away this time. Come along, Cortez.
Sheriff, before you go.
I'll pay you when I deliver.
Plus $75.
Exactly. Now goodbye. Let's go, boys.
I'll see you soon, amigos.
Shut up.
Thanks for this, John.
Can you send my money to the bank for me?
Of course.
I'm supposed to be retired from this.
This? For nothing. Just a simple arrest. Money for old Rome.
If you say so.
See you around, partner.
Don't chew your reins off, Missy.
Files now, wherever you get your podcasts.
The prosecution in the Derek Chauvin trial, building on their case that he violated policy and did not use an authorized neck restraint in the arrest of George Floyd. One expert also testifying the use of force was excessive and the officers should have stopped applying force once Floyd stopped resisting. There were some inconsistencies in today's testimony, with two witnesses appearing to contradict each other.
Done a great job.
Have you ever been trained or trained others to say that if a person can talk, they can breathe?
Thank you both.
Yes.
You train officers that if a person can talk, that means that they can breathe?
No, sir.
So I'm going to bring it now in senior legal analyst Laura Coates. Laura, good evening to you. We've heard from multiple police officials and trainers saying that Chauvin violated policy, that his use of force was not a trained restraint. But we also saw witnesses contradict each other. How does that resonate with the jury?
Well, it's, you have to concede the fact that the defense is going to be able to land a couple punches, be able to score a couple points. But actually landing punches and the ability to deal a real blow is what's at issue here, and they have not done the latter. Because they still have not gone to the meat of the matter here. Of course, no one is contesting, Don, that an officer is allowed to use a reasonable amount of force to subdue and control a suspect. But there is a moment in time the prosecution must prove, and they've done a great job so far, from when it goes to the reasonable use of force, to excessive use of force, to going over to criminal assault. We're getting more and more there. The more witness testimony, the more law enforcement testimony that says this officer knew better and chose to do the opposite of training, even if he had some right to be able to impose his body weight the way he did. It does not actually answer the one question the prosecution, if even the defense, needs to answer, which is, why did he maintain that deadly force? Why did he sustain it over 9 minutes when the person obviously was no longer breathing, was no longer talking, was not resisting arrest, and did not have a pulse?
Yeah. The defense in cross-examination trying to bolster their argument that the crowd may have distracted Chauvin, that bystanders didn't understand what was going on. Listen to this, Laura.
Does it make it more difficult to assess a patient?
It does.
Does it make it more likely that you may miss signs that a patient is experiencing something?
Yes.
And so the distraction can actually harm the potential care of the patient.
Yes.
You would describe sometimes that the public doesn't understand that police actions can look really bad.